Chapter 1562. The lake was rippling. By the lakeside, a girl was combing her hair. She changed her usual hairstyle into a crescent hairstyle for married women. The girl looked at the glowing face in the water and felt shy. She would look at the man sitting in the cabin every now and then. Her eyes were filled with happiness and love. It was a long night. Chi-Shiur had turned from a girl to a woman. She had enjoyed the beauty of being a woman. When love reaches a certain point, it must be water-milk intercourse for the feelings to sublimate. You have me in you, I have you in me, only then can it be considered as a true union. It was only after last night that Chi-Shiur truly felt like she had become Lu Li's woman. Their hearts could be said to be completely together. Her heart also became exceptionally calm. Even if she were to die here at this moment, she would be satisfied. Lu Li didn't regret it. What was done was done. He really liked Chi-Shiur. This girl with many beautiful qualities in the world deserved the love and protection of all men. Chi-Shiur was too reliant on him. Just as Chi-Shiur had said, she might die if she left him. He was a soft-hearted person when it came to women. He could actually predict the final outcome. Looking at Chi-Shiur, who was washing up by the lake, looking at her rosy white skin and glowing face, his heart was filled with softness and peace. In this strange god realm, he and Chi-Shiur could be said to depend on each other. They could give each other a trace of warmth and comfort. Only by supporting each other could they go further. Brother, Chi-Shiur finished and floated over like a butterfly. She sat in front of Lu Li and snuggled into his arms. She was still shy. She didn't dare to look at Lu Li. She followed his gaze. Shiur. Lu Li held Chi-Shiur in his arms and stroked her smooth back with one hand. He smelled the light fragrance coming from her and felt the cool morning breeze. At this moment, his heart became exceptionally tranquil and contented. It was a strange feeling. It was as if the world had stopped. Nothing moved but his mind was clear. It was as if he had entered an ethereal state. But he wasn't in a trance state. He didn't cultivate. He just felt quiet and peaceful. He felt his mind was flexible. After a while, Lu Li felt something was wrong. This state was too strange. In this state, he felt closer to the world. It was as if the world had become clearer, more transparent and more real. Lu Li wouldn't miss out on such a good state. He closed his eyes and tried to feel it. He realized this state was more powerful and wonderful than the ethereal state. Luckily, Chi-Shiur didn't do anything. She fell asleep in Lu Li's arms. Otherwise, if she moved or talked to Lu Li, it was very likely that Lu Li would break out of this state. Although Chi-Shiur's body could take it, she was still mentally exhausted. She fell asleep as soon as she sat down. Lu Li tried to feel this state. He wanted to be closer to this world. He could feel the wind, the earth, the ground, the sky, the water. At this moment, he felt the elements in heaven and earth were clearer and closer. He was closer to nature. He even felt like he was part of the world. He was like a gust of wind, like a stone in the earth, like a drop of water in the lake, like a tree next to him, like a beam of light in the sky. He felt he had disappeared in front of the cabin and become a part of the world. He was the world and the world was him. It was a wonderful feeling. He was almost lost in it. Calm down, calm down. Lu Li forced himself to calm down. He couldn't lose himself completely. He had to try to understand this wonderful state and control it. In this way, he could enter this state at any time in the future. He had a feeling that this state might be the advancement of the ethereal state. His mentality just now had successfully advanced him to the ethereal state. He had entered a more mysterious state. He began to feel carefully and quickly. He used his heart to sense all the changes around him. He repeated the process and perfected his guesses. Time moved on. 6 hours later, Chi-Shiur woke up. As soon as she moved, Lu Li was startled out of that state. Alas, Lu Li felt it was a pity. If he had more time, he would be able to master that state and enter it at any time. He didn't know what that state would bring him, but he felt that if he could cultivate in that state for a long time, he would be able to learn the laws in heaven and earth quickly. "What is it, brother?" Chi-Shir heard Luli sigh and looked up. Luli smiled gently. He kissed Chi-Shir on her forehead and said, "Nothing. Do you want something to eat? I will go and grill some fish." Okay, Chi-Shir's eyes glowed. She was still young and could not resist the temptation of good food. Luli scanned with psychic power and found a fish, lobsters, and crabs in the lake. He flew over and soon, he brought back a fish, some prawns, and a crab the size of a basin. Wow, Chi-Shir had never eaten these before and she shouted in surprise. Even though she was a woman now, she was no different from an innocent girl. Her personality was similar to Bai Xiaoshuang's, but Bai Xiaoshuang was less stubborn while Chi-Shir was pure and innocent. Luli ate some himself. It was the first time for Chi-Shir to eat crab roe. She felt she had opened a door to a whole new world. She couldn't stop praising it. After that, Luli held Chi-Shir's hand and walked by the lake. As they walked, he tried to enter that strange state again. His mind became empty. He believed that as long as he could enter that strange state again, he could understand it. They went round after round. Chi-Shir didn't say anything. As long as Luli was with her, she would feel happy and at ease. As Luli walked on, he suddenly closed his eyes, but he was still moving forward. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli suddenly stopped and let go of Chi-Shir's hand. He didn't say anything, nor did he do anything. He just stood quietly by the lake with his eyes closed. Chi-Shir looked at Luli in surprise. Suddenly, she felt Luli was different now. He was still a human, but there was something else in him that she could not explain. She felt Luli was not a human anymore. He was like a rock by the lake, a tree at the foot of the mountain, a drop of water in the lake. Chi-Shir felt Luli had disappeared from this world. To be exact, Luli seemed to have become one with the world. Chapter 1563. What a miraculous state! Luli stood by the lake for 3 days and 3 nights before he opened his eyes. He exclaimed with mixed feelings. He had completely mastered this state. This should be the evolution of the transcendent state. He had been through too many things and his state of mind had changed. That moment of coincidence had allowed him to relax and enter this state. The transcendent state. This state is more powerful than the others. Let's call it the cryptic state. Luli gave this state a name. It was so mysterious that he could not explain it in words. It was so mysterious that Luli named it the cryptic state. In the cryptic state, Luli felt he had blended into the surrounding world. He felt he had completely blended in. He was the world and the world was him. If anyone wanted to assassinate him in this state, not even supreme warriors in the divinity, Luli would be able to sense it immediately. Since he had blended in with the world, no change in heaven and earth could escape his senses. In the old days, he was sensitive to space and he could judge by the abnormality of space. But now, he could judge by everything around him. He could even sense an enemy flying over in the form of a grain of sand. Apart from being sensitive to space, Luli also found that in the cryptic state, he could learn the laws of heaven and earth faster. Just like in the small world under the dragon vein of Mount Kunlun, the laws of space were very clear so he could learn it quickly. He studied space twist in there. Of course, Luli had deduced all this himself. He had to try to find out if it was true or not. All in all, it was pointless if this state could not help him improve his abilities. "Brother!" A weak voice came. Luli looked back and saw Chi-Shir was scared. She grabbed Luli and asked, "What happened to you? Why did I feel like you disappeared? You were so unreal, like you were a stone." "Ha ha ha!" Luli laughed. He hugged Chi-Shir and said, "I just learned a strange state. I just blended in with heaven and earth. Don't worry. I will stay with you." "Okay," Chi-Shir smiled sweetly. She took Luli's hand and walked back to the cabin. Back in the cabin, Qi Shi said with embarrassment, "Brother, I am hungry." "Ha ha ha." Qi Shi's bashful and honest look made him very happy. He got up and busied himself. He roasted some fish and prawns for Qi Shi. After eating with her, the two of them walked back into the wooden hut. Luli was in a good mood after learning a miraculous state. He stopped cultivating at night and went to bed with Qi Shi. It was Qi Shi's first time as a married woman and was very curious and moved by the things between a man and a woman. Although she didn't take the initiative to ask for it, her body was a little soft and hot as she slept next to Luli. Luli could feel Qi Shi's eyelashes trembling and her pretty face blushing. When a beauty fell in love, this was the most beautiful scene in the world. It could make any man's heart ripple. Luli was a normal man. He had been suppressing his emotions, but now that he had let it go, he didn't care too much. She mounted the horse, and the atmosphere in the room gradually became charming. 10 days. Luli didn't cultivate. He spent 10 days with Qi Shi. They wandered around, roasted fish, swam, wandered, and at night they made love. Qi Shi felt these 10 days were the happiest of her life. It was the first time a young girl had fallen in love. She had always dreamed of being accepted by Luli. Now that they were in love, nothing in the world could make her happier. 10 days later, Luli began closed-door cultivation. He sat by the lake and entered the state of cryptic spirituality to study the sword mark. He had been studying this move for a long time. He had made some progress on the other 3 fundamental principles, but to integrate them completely it would take a long time. Luli built a spirit-gathering formation nearby so that he and Qi Shi could cultivate divine energy faster. He also gave Qi Shi many soul-nurturing pellets, which he got from several mighty warriors in the divinity. They were the best of the best. Qi Shi sat next to Luli to cultivate. She knew that Luli's enemies were powerful. She hoped that she could improve herself so that she could help Luli instead of being a burden. She was talented. She could become a mighty warrior in the divinity at such a young age. She was no less talented than many talents on the list of talents in the divinity. Her mind was pure and untainted by the mortal world. She was more in tune with nature and could learn laws in nature faster. Blood Fairy came back once. She was studying the forbidden formations of Elder God not far away. There were many remaining forbidden formations of Elder God here, enough for Blood Fairy to study for a long time. Little White was also very comfortable recently. It drilled into the mountain and was surrounded by cyan red stone. It was extremely happy and prepared to cultivate in seclusion here until it finished eating all the cyan red stone. Luli cultivated in peace in the Mount Wei Emperor. He had no idea that someone was plotting against him. At the southernmost part of the divinity there was a famous mountain called Cloud Mountain of the South Sea. Recently, a small force in the mountain was wiped out. Over 20,000 people, young and old, male and female, were all killed. All the heads were piled up into a mountain. A note was left behind: "Anyone that dares to provoke me, Luli, will be killed without mercy." The entire southern divinity was shaken. Following that, the entire divinity was in turmoil. Once again, Luli's cruelty shocked the world. This time, he did not even spare the old and the children. Luli's reputation as the god of slaughter was solidified. Patriarch Kwang was enraged. He led Patriarch Leopard, Patriarch Nyo and many warriors to the southernmost part of the divinity. Patriarch Kwang swore that he would kill Luli or else he would resign from the Master of the Craftsman's sect and quit his position as a Patriarch of the Hall of Combat. At the southernmost part of the divinity, Patriarch Kwang mobilized many warriors and prefecture warriors to search for Luli all over the world. There was news that Luli had shown up at the southern divinity and was almost captured on several occasions. Luli was at the Mount Wei Emperor. That small force at the southernmost part of the divinity was not killed by him. As a matter of fact, it was Poison Centipede who secretly killed that small force for 3 reasons. First, to frame Luli and incur public anger. Second, to see if Luli could be enraged so that he would come out. Third, to prove that Patriarch Kwang and the others were at the Southern Divinity recently so that they could avoid arousing suspicion. Lord Luoyi, I am counting on you and my brothers. In a mountain outside a huge city, Poison Centipede bid farewell to Luoyi and 2 other patriarchs of the Hall of Darkness. Luoyi waved his hand. Brother Poison Centipede, don't say that. I have a blood feud with Luli. If I don't kill him, I will not be able to stay in the divinity for the rest of my life. But when this is done, I hope you will not forget your promise, Brother Poison Centipede. Don't worry. Poison Centipede waved his hand. You know Patriarch Kwang. When Luli is dead, we will take care of the rebuilding of the Hall of Darkness. Sure. A glint of killing intent rose in Luoye's eyes. He waved his hand. Let's go to the lower universe and capture Luli's family and friends. Let's kill every living being in the universe that Luli is in. Charge! Chapter 1564. Luoyi went into the city with the 2 patriarchs and went directly to the Spacetime office. The easiest way to go down to the mortal world was the Spacetime office, which was the safest place. This city was where the headquarters of the Spacetime office was located. Luoyi and the 2 patriarchs entered a huge castle and were received by a hall master of the Spacetime office in person. Luoyi was the master of one of the 72 sections. The Shrine of Darkness was destroyed, but Luoyi was still alive and could rebuild it at any time. What was more, Luoyi was a supreme warrior in the divinity. Such a powerful warrior deserved to be received by a hall master of the Spacetime office. Master Luo wants to go down to the mortal world? The hall master of Spacetime office was surprised to learn of Luoye's intention. Then, he said with a frown, Master Luo, you are a supreme warrior in the divinity. I don't think it is appropriate for you to go down to the mortal world. What is inappropriate about it? Luoyi had never been down to the mortal world. Given his high status, he would not ask about such trifles in person. He said impatiently, just tell me how much divine sources you want. I want to go to the Earth Imperial Universe. It is not about the divine sources, Luoyi misunderstood. The hall master said with a bitter smile, you don't know much about small universes. The mortal world is small and the space is unstable. Unless it's a formidable martial artist from the divine world who came from this mortal domain, other formidable martial artists would easily cause the domain to collapse if they entered. You should know the consequences then. Collapse of the universe. Luoyi and the 2 super mighty warriors in the divinity were taken aback. The twisting force of space when a universe collapsed would be horrifying. Even Luoyi would be strangled to death. What was more, if a universe collapsed, who knew if the laws of heaven and earth would bite back? After all, it was against the laws of heaven and earth. We cannot go down to the mortal world? Luoyi blinked and pulled a long face. He had just reached an agreement with Ducheng. How could he not go to the mortal world now? It is not that you cannot go down to the mortal world. You can go to the purgatory of primordial chaos, but you cannot go to the mortal world. The hall master of Spacetime office looked at Luoyi and said, you want to get back at Luli, right? Go to the purgatory of primordial chaos and try to control the mortals in other universes. Call all the powerful warriors of the mortal world to the Earth Imperial Universe. You can capture all of Luli's families and bring them to the purgatory of primordial chaos. Good idea. Luoye's eyes lit up. If they went to the mortal world, with his and the 2 elders' strength, there would be countless mortals pledging allegiance to them. At that time, wouldn't it be convenient for him to do whatever he wanted? Wouldn't it be a piece of cake to capture Luli's family and friends with the help of warriors from several universes? All right, let's do this. Send us to the primal chaos purgatory. Luo Yi waved his hand, and a super mighty existence from the divine world beside him asked, "How many divine roots do we need to teleport to the primal chaos purgatory? Because the three of you are experts, it's more troublesome to teleport, and the divine materials required are more expensive." The Hall Master sighed for a moment and said, "Sect Patriarch Luo is a famous expert. We will give you a 20% discount. The three of you can teleport down and pay 30 billion divine roots together." 30 billion? Luo Ye's eyes widened. He had heard that the lower realm was very expensive, but he didn't expect it to be so outrageously expensive. The three of them were only going to the lower domain, and they needed 30 billion divine roots? Why didn't the space-time office rob them? Luo Yi was not in a position to say anything. One of the patriarchs frowned and said, "Hall Master Qing, you know that the Dark Forest is under attack. It is too much for us to take so many divine roots. We don't have a choice." The Hall Master said firmly, "The space-time office has its own rules, and we cannot violate them. How about you send fewer people? Or you can buy a map of the space turbulence and fly there through the space turbulence. That's cheaper." Turbulence in the void? The two patriarchs were frightened. How could they not know how dangerous the turbulence in the void was? Luo Yi might not necessarily die inside, but it was very likely that they would die. 30 billion divine root. Give it to them. Luo Yi waved his hand, biting his teeth. If they could do this well, they would be on good terms with Patriarch Kuang. Not only could they seek revenge, but they could also help the Shrine of Darkness rise. With Patriarch Kuang's help, it would be a piece of cake to earn back the tens of billions of divine root. A mighty warrior from the divinity took out 3 interspatial rings, which was the majority of the Shrine of Darkness savings over the years. Luckily, Poison Centipede had given them 10 billion divine root. Otherwise, they would have spent a lot. "Please come with me." After the Hall Master took the 30 billion divine roots, he was all smiles. It was rare to get such a big deal. He brought the three of them to a huge castle. There was a huge teleportation formation that was more than 1,000 feet wide. To teleport to the lower domain, one had to pass through the barrier of space. In the entire divinity, only the teleportation formation of the space-time office could do that. Luo Yi and the others stood in the altar. The Hall Master had mobilized 100 people to activate the altar. To activate the altar, many precious materials were needed. The teleportation would take half a month. 100 people used their divine power at the same time. The altar started to glow and then became brighter. After 2 hours, the teleportation altar shook violently. Following that, a pillar of light shot through the castle and into the clouds. Luo Yi and the others disappeared into the teleportation formation. Wow! Countless people in the city were shocked. The pillar of light was too long. It was obvious that the altar to teleport to the lower domain had been activated. It had been a long time since someone was teleported to the lower domain. After all, the cost was too high. Not even mighty warriors in the divinity could afford it. I think I saw Luo Yi enter the spacetime office. Is he teleporting to the lower domain? Luo Yi? Master of the Shrine of Darkness? Why is he teleporting to the lower domain? Is he going to return the favor? That is possible. Nobody can find Lu Li now. He has killed Luo Ye's family. What else can Luo Yi do in the lower domain? He must be going there to kill for revenge, since he has paid such a high price. Wow. This is big news. If Lu Li's family and friends are killed, will he lose his mind? How many people in the divinity will be killed by Lu Li? Hurry, go back and report to our family, just in case. In the city of spacetime, the fact that Luo Yi had gone to the lower domain was spread out. This had nothing to do with the craftsman's sect. After all, Patriarch Qi, Patriarch Leopard, and Patriarch Nyo were at the southernmost part of the divinity. Luo Yi had a strong motive to get back at them. That powerful pillar of light had been glowing for 10 days without fading away. It was confirmed. Someone had gone to the lower domain. Many people saw Luo Yi enter the spacetime office with the two warriors and never came out. The news spread like wildfire. In just 10 days, it had spread to more than half of the immortal world. As a matter of fact, Du Meng had someone spread the news on purpose. He hoped that Lu Li would come to the spacetime office rashly and teleport back with him. Du Meng had someone in the city of spacetime. As soon as Lu Li came to the city of spacetime, Patriarch Kuei and the others would come right away. By then, Luo Yi wouldn't have to bring hostages to the divinity. Chapter 1565. What? In the Swords Mountain, Emperor of Heaven Reverse was taken aback when he received the news. He asked Do Ling, "Are you sure about this? Everyone in the divinity knows about this." Do Ling forced a smile. Many people have confirmed that Luo Yi went into the spacetime city with two patriarchs. Supreme warriors in the divinity are too strong to fate. Also, the light from the spacetime office is particularly strong and it is still there. Apart from teleporting to the lower universe, where else can it take such a long time? What's more, Luo Yi never came out. This is troublesome. Emperor of Heaven Reverse pulled a long face. After a moment of hesitation, his eyes glowed. Luo Yi and the others are powerful. I don't think they can go to the Heaven Reverse universe and the Earth Imperial universe. Even if they teleport to the lower universe, they can only go to the purgatory of primordial chaos. The thing is, Do Ling forced a smile again. Given Luo Ye's abilities, it is too easy for him to subdue warriors from other universes. All the warriors in the lower universe will go crazy if he gives them some relics of the lowest level, not to mention everything else. When the other universes come to attack the Earth Imperial universe, do you think the Lu family can stop them? That's right. Emperor of Heaven Reverse nodded. Even if the Lu family has a city, Luo Yi can break it with some random artifact. That city is just a low-grade relic. Emperor of Heaven Reverse said with a bitter expression. Father, what should we do now? Do Ling was well aware of the importance of Lu Li to the Sword Sect. If Lu Li were to lose his mind, death would be the only outcome. The support that the Sword Sect finally found would be gone. I will send an avatar to talk to the Lu family so that they can be prepared. Emperor of Heaven Reverse hurried to the castle in the backyard. He sent an avatar to talk to the others. He asked the Lu family to arrange an escape route and send some elite disciples into the secret realm to avoid extinction. At the same time, he told those cultivating in the purgatory of primordial chaos to leave at once or they could be killed. When Patriarch of Law Enforcement was informed, he gathered all the powerful warriors and activated the Tinder Plan. He sent Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiushue, Bai Xiaoshuang, Prajna and the others away by force. They were sent to the secret realm whether they wanted to or not. At the same time, Patriarch of Law Enforcement sent someone to the prison of ice to send a message to Lu Renhuang and the others who were cultivating in the purgatory of primordial chaos to come back and defend the city with their lives. Emperor of Heaven Reverse did not elaborate. He only mentioned that 3 of Lu Li's enemies were from the divinity and that they had gone to the mortal world. Even though they could not enter the Earth Imperial Universe and the Heaven Reverse Universe, they could convince warriors from the other 9 universes to attack the Earth Imperial Universe. Therefore, as far as Patriarch of Law Enforcement and Lu Xingyang were concerned, as long as the Relic City was protected, what could some semi-god realm warriors do to them? Powerful ones from the divinity were indeed. That being said, they could not enter the Earth Imperial Universe. As long as the city remained intact, they would be safe. Emperor of Heaven Reverse could not be bothered with the specific arrangements of the Lu family. Not to mention that he was only an avatar. Even if his true body descended to the lower realm, it would still be useless. Luo Yi was a supreme being of the divine world. He could crush him to death with a single finger. He paced up and down in the castle, wondering if he should tell Luli. If he didn't tell Luli and Luli found out later, he would definitely blame him. If he told Luli, Luli would definitely do something stupid. Never mind. Emperor of Heaven Reverse finally made up his mind. He took out the jade talisman Luli gave him and crushed it. He did not dare to hide such a serious matter from Luli. When Luli learned about it, he would fly into a rage. Emperor of Heaven Reverse could only try his best to help Luli and persuade him. As soon as the jade talisman was crushed, Luli, who was cultivating, was alarmed. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes. He was confused. Theoretically speaking, the Swords Mountain should be fine now that Grand Master Black Flag was killed. Let's go. He put Chi Shearer into the wicked bead and went to find Blood Fairy. Little White did not mind. Little White could not be of much help at the moment. It was safe here and Little White could improve quickly. Luli sneaked his way up the Swords Mountain and sneaked into Emperor of Heaven Reverse's castle without anyone knowing. Do Ling was the only one who knew about this. Emperor, what is going on? Luli asked Emperor of Heaven Reverse, travel-worn. He did not even have a sip of water. The Swords Mountain was peaceful. There was no sign of tension. Luli, calm down. Have some water. Emperor of Heaven Reverse poured tea for Luli in person. He waved Do Ling away and said, I just received a piece of news. I will tell you about it. Don't get excited. You must calm down. What? A glint of coldness rose in Luli's eyes. He was like a lion that smelled danger. He took a sip of water to calm himself down before he asked, Speak. I can stay calm. Luo Yi, Grand Master of the Hall of Darkness. Emperor of Heaven Reverse said with difficulty. I heard that he went to the space-time office 11 days ago and used the teleportation altar to descend. Rumor has it that he has gone to the purgatory of primordial chaos. What? Even though Luli was prepared, he was still shocked by the news. He stood up abruptly and asked, Is it true? Are you sure that he has gone to the purgatory of primordial chaos? Are you sure that he is going to the Earth Imperial Universe? Luli, calm down. I told you to calm down. Emperor of Heaven Reverse patted Luli's shoulder and explained, I have sent someone to verify it. It is certain that Luo Yi has gone to the City of Space. The teleportation formation to the City of Space is still glowing. According to the information, only the teleportation formation in the lower universe can have such a large beam of light and last for such a long time. I have sent an avatar to inform your great-grandpa. He will make arrangements. Also, Luo Yi and the others cannot go to the Earth Imperial Universe or else the universe will collapse. So, you don't have to worry so much. Emperor of Heaven Reverse had said a lot, but Luli did not listen to much. His eyes were bloodshot and his breaths were short. He would not be so nervous if it were something else. But the Lu family and Bai Qiushue were his sore spot. He could not afford to offend them. Once someone did, he would not rest until one of them died. Go back. I must go back. He paced up and down in the room. He thought about the matter and said with determination, I must go back. Your Majesty, do you have a way for me to go back to the Earth Imperial Universe? Luli even had the urge to go to the City of Space. He would do anything as long as he could be teleported back, even if he had to sell the sacred mountain. Luli, don't be impulsive. Emperor of Heaven Reverse was regretting. He knew that Luli would be impulsive, but it was still a headache. Emperor of Heaven Reverse tried to persuade Luli. If you want to go back, you must go to the City of Space. But the powerful warriors of the Craftsman's sect must be waiting in the City of Space. As soon as you go, you will be killed. Also, who can guarantee that the space-time office will not kill you? The four forces are of the same breath and branch. I don't care. Luli waved his hand. I must go back. If I have to die, I want to die with my family and friends. Alas, if you really want to go back, there is only one way. Chapter 1566. Lu Li left the Swords Mountain and went to the Mount Wei Emperor. He built a new teleportation formation and told Little White about it. Little White wanted to go with Lu Li but was turned down by Lu Li in a firm tone. Little White was obedient to Lu Li. It planned to hide in the mountain and eat up all the red and green stones in the mountain. Lu Li also built an inhibition formation in the mountain so that Little White would have a place to run and time to teleport back to the Swords Mountain should it encounter enemies. After all this was done, Lu Li went to the Rising Sun City and asked the Hall of Bloodblade to buy a map of the Void. The Void was boundless. Without a map, it was easy to get lost in it. Once lost in the Void, it was possible that one could never come out again. The 4 legendary forces all had such map. Some major forces had them as well. It was not difficult to buy. Many powerful warriors had explored the Void. There were so many treasured lands in the Void. Even some supreme warriors in the divinity were cultivating in the Void. For example, in the turbulence of time, time flowed slowly. One could cultivate for 1,000 years in there, but only 1 year had passed in the outside world. Of course, in fact, one had lived for 1,000 years. It was the same. Also, in the Void, there were many treasured lands where the laws of heaven and earth were transparent and clear. Studying in there could be twice the result with half the effort. In some places, one could even see the origin of the world and the essence of chaos. Those were the best places to study the laws of heaven and earth. Treasured lands and dangerous lands often went hand in hand. Many powerful warriors died in the dangerous lands in order to enter the treasured lands. The Slayer was one of them. How powerful was the Slayer? How many supreme warriors and powerful warriors died under the Slayer's move? In the end, the Slayer died in a dangerous land. It was easy for the Hall of Bloodblade to get the map. It was better for the Hall of Bloodblade to get the map than the Swords Mountain. After all, the Hall of Bloodblade was an assassin organization. It was reasonable for someone to ask the assassin organization for the map. In just a couple of hours, the Hall of Bloodblade had the map in their hands. Lu Li checked it out and left at once. He teleported to the east of the Xian Qing mansion. There was a valley in space. The space in the valley was messy. It was a suitable place to go to the real Void. In fact, if it was an expert, they could directly tear space apart and enter the Void. However, it was very easy to get lost in that way. Moreover, tearing the Void was equivalent to breaking the laws, and there would be a backlash. Lu Li's space grind took advantage of the law of space's backlash to strangle enemies to death. Therefore, it was best to enter the Void from a weak point in space. Firstly, it was safe. Their strong energy alerted the old man cultivating in the cave. Whoosh! The old man dashed out with a saber in his hand. He looked at Luo Yi and the other 2 warily and asked coldly, "Who are you? What do you want?" "Kneel." Luo Yi snorted. He released a trace of his energy. The old man felt he was being pressed down by a mountain. He dropped to his knees at once. The old man was shocked. He looked at Luo Yi and the other 2 in disbelief. His lips trembled as he asked, "My lords, are you immortals?" Luo Yi did not answer. He was emotionless. He turned to a patriarch and said, "Patriarch Lu, control him." Patriarch Lu dashed over and put his hand on the old man's head. His hand glowed in a blue light. In the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Patriarch Lu stopped. The old man bowed and said, "Master." For immortals, controlling a mortal's soul was a piece of cake, not to mention that Patriarch Lu was a super mighty warrior in the divinity with many strange skills. He could even control a mighty warrior in the divinity, not to mention a mortal. Grand Master. Patriarch Lu found some information from the old man's mind. He reported, "This man is a powerful warrior in the 9 universes. He is at the semi-god realm. I can tell from his soul that Lu Li's family has several semi-god realm warriors and a relic. We only need to control some semi-god realm warriors and mobilize an army to sweep across the Earth Imperial universe. Then what are we waiting for? Luo Yi waved his hand and said, "Go around and control all the powerful warriors in the 9 universes. Then, mobilize an army to attack the Earth Imperial universe. I want the Earth Imperial universe to be wiped out. Apart from Lu Li's family, I want everyone in the Earth Imperial universe to be slaughtered." Search engine keywords. Chapter 1567. In the void, the light was dim. Lu Li could only see a faint glow in the distance. The Xian Qi in heaven and earth was thin as well. Lu Li felt suffocated in there. If he were not a powerful warrior, he would suffocate to death after staying in there for a long time. There was almost no gravity in the void. Therefore, it was easy for Lu Li to fly and he was fast. Of course, he did not dare to go too fast because there were dangers everywhere. One careless move and he could lose his life. The void was vast and boundless. Everywhere was empty. He had no sense of direction. Without a map, Lu Li would not know how to fly. He could get lost in there and never get out. Swish, from the distance came a ray of light. It was like a meteor shower. Lu Li was intrigued, but he did not dare to go closer. He did not know if it was time turbulence or time reversal. If he entered the wrong place and stayed in there for a while, it might have been 10,000 years in the outside world. According to the ancient book given by Emperor of Heaven Reverse, time and space turbulence and time reversal were invisible on the surface. One could only sense the flow of time and space when one was close. However, once one was close enough, one could be sucked in. Lu Li once encountered a strange beast king in the beast divine realm, Master of Heiqi. Master of Heiqi had a special skill. He could breathe out airflow that could slow down the flow of time, which was similar to time turbulence. Lu Li did not dare to act rashly. He wanted to find a sea of stars based on the map. There were many meteorites in the sea of stars. At the very least, he would not lose his way after he found the sea of stars. Only when he found the sea of stars could he be sure of the direction and find the way to the 9 universes. Lu Li sped up. This was not the way to go on. He did not know how long it would take to reach the 9 universes based on the map. If it took months or years, what was the point of going back? Emperor of Heaven Reverse had sent a message to Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Patriarch of Law Enforcement would arrange for some important people to go to the secret realm. Patriarch of Law Enforcement and some others would defend the city to the death. Otherwise, Luo Yi would not let it go so easily if all of them escaped. It would take Luo Yi some time to go to the purgatory of primordial chaos and organize a team to attack the Earth Imperial universe. It would take about a month for the city to be breached. Therefore, Lu Li still had 1 month. Flying in the void was a very boring thing, because it was pitch black all around and only a faint light could be seen in the distance. There was nothing here, and even the air exuded an ancient and decaying aura. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth was thin, making people feel very uncomfortable. After flying for 3 days, Lu Li didn't see the sea of stars marked on the map. He was troubled. Had he gone the wrong way? If it was a mistake, then it would be a big problem. Faster! Lu Li made up his mind and sped up to the extreme. Unlike the divinity, there was no gravity here. Lu Li could travel 300 miles in the time for 1 breath. The speed of a mighty warrior in the divinity was not a joke. Ugh! 2 hours later, Lu Li suddenly stopped. There was a black hole in front of him. The hole was also pitch black, but it was so dark that it made one's heart palpitate. Even the nearby light seemed to be absorbed by the black hole. Lu Li felt that if he got close to the black hole, he would be sucked in immediately. Space-time black hole. Lu Li remembered the description of the black hole in the ancient books. He was scared. Nobody knew what was inside the black hole. Maybe there was a land of treasures, or maybe it was a land of destruction where all living beings would be killed. Maybe it was a land of death where one could never come out and be trapped for the rest of their lives. All in all, according to the description in the ancient books, one must avoid this kind of black hole as soon as possible and not go in for no reason. Only those who were about to die and wanted to go in for a chance of survival could give it a try. Luli carefully went around the black hole and flew into the distance. An hour later, a meteor shower flew past Luli. Luli stopped to check again. His eyes glowed. He felt that time in the turbulence of time was moving very slowly, at least 10,000 times slower than the outside world. But he was stunned for a moment. That turbulence of time flew into the distance and vanished into the horizon. Alas! Luli regretted. He should have rushed in at once. The speed of space and turbulence was horrifying. Once in there, one would not even feel the passage of time. In a blink, one could travel thousands of miles. Luli's plan was to find a stream of turbulence in time or in space. Then, he could arrive at the 9 universes as soon as possible. Luli flew on. 4 hours later, he finally saw a sea of stars up ahead. Actually, it wasn't a sea of stars. It was just that there were huge meteorites floating in the void over there. Some of the meteorites were over 3,000 miles in size and some were small, only 100 feet in radius. Okay. Luli jumped onto a boulder and waited quietly. He could reach the 9 universes in a couple of days if he could find the turbulence of time and space to the west. According to the map, if Luli were to fly by himself, it would take him 1 or 2 years to reach the 9 universes. By then, it would be too late. Luli could only count on the turbulence of time and space. 1 hour, 6 hours. 2 streams of space and space turbulence flew by. But they were too far away for Luli to sense them before they flew away. Those streams of space and space turbulence were fast. They flashed by like shooting stars. 12 hours, which was 1 day. Luli was getting impatient. He could not go on like this. How could he be so lucky? What if there were no streams of space and space turbulence flying by? Would he have to wait forever? 1 more day. If there are no streams, I will go there and find a chance along the way. Luli thought about it and made up his mind. He couldn't just wait here forever, could he? If there were no streams after 1 more day, he would have to fly over while waiting for a chance. Time moved on. Soon, half a day had passed. 4 more streams of space and space turbulence flew by. But they were too far away or in the wrong direction. Luli did not even have the chance to sense whether they were streams of space or turbulence. What? After the time for 1 incense stick to burn, Luli suddenly felt a chill on his back. Somehow, he sensed danger. He turned around and looked into the distance. What he saw made him tremble in fear. His hands and feet felt cold. Because in the distant void, a huge beast was silently approaching. That beast was thousands of feet long. It walked in the void without making a sound. The beast had the head of a lion, but the body was long and narrow. It looked like a dragon with spikes on its back. It had 6 legs and 4 wings. Its tail was like an iron whip. The pupils in its eyes were gray and emotionless. It was like a god of death. Chapter 1568. Luli once encountered a spatial beast in the valley between the Great Land and the land of Serenity and Swallow. If it were not for the spatial beast, he would have lost his life. In the end, he flew away in the void right under the nose of the spatial beast. Also, Luli learned a move from the underground of the dragon's vein because of the origin skill of the spatial beast. That was his main move, Space Twist. Therefore, Luli had a deep impression of the spatial beast. He remembered that Patriarch Nyo and Patriarch Leopard had been attacking the spatial beast for a long time, and they were all stopped by the spatial beast's origin shield. The spatial beast was so strong that not even supreme warriors in the divinity could kill it, not to mention Luli. Buzzing, without any hesitation, Luli took out the 3 mountains from the wicked bead at once. At the same time, out of instinct, he wanted to draw a formation in the void and fly away. No! Luli could not tell if it was because of the turbulence in the void or for some other reason. Without hesitation, Luli enlarged one of the mountains and hopped onto it. Then, he flew the 3 mountains into the distance. Roar! Luli did not move. The spatial beast did not do anything either. It was just moving closer quietly. As soon as Luli ran away, the spatial beast bellowed and dashed toward Luli in a blur. Yao, hit me. Fong Qing, follow me closely and be ready to block the attack from behind. Luli was scared. The spatial beast could breathe out dark air. Last time, Luli saw that all warriors enveloped by the dark air would be minced to death, be they regular immortals or mighty warriors in the divinity. Luli had just become a mighty warrior in the divinity. Could he survive the dark air? Therefore, he didn't dare to let those spatial beasts get close to him. Yao controlled the divine mountain to expand to a radius of 10 miles, then fiercely smashed towards the spatial beasts that were chasing after him with a thunderous sound. Bang! The spatial beast made the first move. Its huge tail smashed at Luli, and cracks appeared in the void. When the tail landed on the mountain was smashed away, but only for dozens of miles. Impressive! Luli exclaimed to himself. He could not even imagine how heavy the mountain was. Back in the days when Shimeng bumped into the mountain, his bones were broken. Shimeng was a magical beast that specialized in cultivating his physical body, and he also had a royal bloodline. Back then, the divine mountain hadn't even moved an inch. Of course, a spatial divine beast's battle prowess was comparable to a paragon of the immortal world, and it was also a vicious beast, so its fleshly body was no weaker than a devil's. From this point of comparison, it could be seen how powerful the space divine beast was. On the gums! Seeing that the spatial beast was catching up, Luli sent out the green mountain at once. At the same time, he told Yao to catch up quickly and take turns to attack the spatial divine beast, so that the spatial divine beast could not attack him. Roar! The space divine beast spat out a mouthful of black air, but it was completely blocked by the green divine mountain. The green mountain fiercely smashed towards the space beast. A muffled boom was heard as the space beast was forced back for over 10 miles, while the mountain was bounced back as well. On the other side, the golden mountain flew over, but it was swept away by the spatial beast's tail. Luli was a bit relieved. The 2 mountains were taking turns to attack. The space divine beast was distracted and could not catch up with Luli anytime soon. Of course, Luli did not dare to stop or let his guard down. The space divine beast was faster than the mountains. Once it caught up with him, one mouthful of black air could end his life. What to do? Even though the 2 mountains were suppressing the space divine beast, Luli was still worried. He could not go on like this. He was dancing on a mountain of knives. One wrong move and he could be smashed into pieces. Time turbulence! All of a sudden, Luli saw a ray of light behind him. He checked at once and realized that it was time turbulence. He had the chance to go in, but the 2 mountains were attacking the space divine beast. If he went in now, the 2 mountains would be left behind. He hesitated for the time for one breath. The time turbulence flew away and vanished into the distance. Luli regretted. He should have gone in and come back to find the 2 mountains when he had the time. Roar, roar! The space divine beast was enraged. Even though the space divine beast was not harmed by the 2 mountains, it had stopped it from approaching Luli. The space divine beast bellowed and unleashed its energy. Its huge tail kept sweeping away the 2 mountains that were smashing at it. The space divine beast chased after Luli. Yahui, go! Seeing that the space divine beast was catching up, Luli had no other choice but to send out the last mountain and fly away himself. Boom, boom, boom! The 3 mountains took turns to attack the space divine beast, which made it harder for the space divine beast to catch up with Luli. Luli flew into the distance quickly. He was trying to figure out a way. He could not go on like this. Did he have to keep fighting with the Space Divine Beast? The Space Divine Beast was not intelligent. If he could not find a way to escape, the Space Divine Beast would stay here forever. He was in a hurry to go to the 9 universes. If he had to fight with the Space Divine Beast for several months, the bodies at the Earth Imperial Universe would be cold. There is a black hole up ahead. Luli suddenly saw a black hole to his left. He was cheered up. If the Space Divine Beast was sucked into the black hole, then everything would be fine. Luli turned to his left and flew around the black hole. At the same time, he ordered Yaeo and the others, find a way to smash the Space Divine Beast into the black hole. Roar, roar, the attacks from the 3 mountains became more violent. The Space Divine Beast was smashed away. The Space Divine Beast bellowed in rage. Seeing that Luli was flying around the black hole, the Space Divine Beast would occasionally glance at Luli with coldness and killing intent. Boom! The Golden Mountain found a chance and smashed into the Space Divine Beast from the side. The Space Divine Beast was smashed away and flew toward the black hole. Okay! Luli yelled. He was about to run away when something unexpected happened. The Space Divine Beast was surrounded by a black airstream. The Space Divine Beast breathed out the black airstream. The black hole suddenly glowed. Following that, a surge of suction force covered an area with a radius of 300 miles. Oh no. Luli sensed that he was enveloped by a horrifying suction force, which was dragging him into the black hole. He was taken aback. He struggled and tried to fly away, but he could not fight against the suction force. Whoosh whoosh, the black hole was like the mouth of a huge beast. It sucked in the Space Divine Beast, Luli and the 3 mountains. However, after a moment, the black hole trembled. That Space Divine Beast dashed out. It stood outside the black hole and roared into the distance. Buzzing, from the distance came a ray of light. Then a vague figure appeared. The figure was blurry and his face could not be seen clearly. Seeing this figure, the Space Divine Beast crouched in midair, shaking its head and wagging its tail. The Space Divine Beast did not look like a beast king, but more like a puppy waiting for its master's praise. Luli! The blurry figure spoke. His voice was old and illusory. He glanced at the space-time black hole and said, "This is one of the most powerful space-time black holes in the void, and also one of the most terrifying. If you can survive in there, you will be able to soar up to the clouds and soar into the sky. But if you die in there, it means that you are not meant to be with Our Lady. P.S. Off topic, I went for a checkup on Friday. I have been writing for 6 years and I have developed many illnesses. Lumbar muscle strain, nerve deterioration, lumbar vertebrae, cervical vertebrae, bone hyperplasia. The doctor suggested that I stop updating for a month to take care of my body or else I will be disabled. How could Dragon King stop before he finished? The doctor suggested that I should update less and rest more. The Space Divine Beast was confused and didn't know what to do. On the one hand, there was the career that he loved and the expectation of countless readers. On the other hand, his body was deteriorating. It was hard to satisfy both sides. After thinking about it for 2 days, the Space Divine Beast decided to update at least 3 times a day until the end of the book. Chapter 1569. Whoosh! In a trance, Luli felt he had traveled through a tunnel of time and space. He felt time was flowing backward. He felt he was floating and there was no end to it. It was dark around him. He could not see anything. Apart from the sound of the wind, there was no other sound. He couldn't control his own body and couldn't move. He could only be sucked inside. He didn't know where the end was, how long he would have to float, and what awaited him later. Would the end of the tunnel lead to hell? Somehow, he was panicking. It was not that he was afraid of danger or death. He was afraid that he would be trapped here, unable to go back to the 9 universes and save his family and friends. Luli thought about his family being killed one by one, about the Earth Imperial Universe being flattened by the allied forces of the 8 universes, about the mountains and plains covered with dead bodies. He grew more and more panicked. He wanted to yell, but he realized that he could not even do so. He could not even open his mouth. There was nothing he could do other than to float along with the waves like a boat in a raging sea. He had to calm himself down and stop thinking about anything. He forced himself to forget about the Earth Imperial Universe. Otherwise, he would not be able to face the coming crisis. If he were to die in here, then how could he go to the Earth Imperial Universe to save his family and friends? After a while, Luli decided to cultivate. Who knew how long he would be floating? There was nothing he could do now. He might as well make the best use of his time to cultivate. He forced himself to get rid of the distracting thoughts and enter the state of cryptic realm. He began to study the Mark of Sword move. At the same time, he began to cultivate divine energy. What? As soon as he began to cultivate divine energy, he trembled. He realized that the speed of cultivation here was astoundingly fast. His divine energy was growing even faster than when he was in the valley at the Hall of Ghosts, more than 10 times faster. What is going on? He suddenly opened his eyes and looked around. He sensed that the Xian Qi in heaven and earth was not particularly dense. How could he cultivate so fast here? This was not logical. At the moment, he felt he was in a trance. Was he wrong? Not only was the Xian Qi in heaven and earth not dense, but thin. How could he cultivate divine energy so fast? He looked around blankly and decided not to think too much about it. He closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. If this was an illusion or a dream, then let it be a dream. At the very least, his current cultivation speed was very fast, which was enough to comfort his heart. One of Lu Li's good qualities was that he could stay calm in a dangerous situation. Even in such a situation, he could still concentrate on cultivation. There was also a benefit to cultivation. It allowed one to forget about time and everything else. They could completely immerse themselves in cultivation, so they wouldn't panic or go crazy. 1 day, 10 days, 1 month. Lu Li opened his eyes. He realized that he was still floating in. He had not reached the bottom of the black hole. Lu Li was in a trance again. Was he in a dream? Was his perception wrong? The speed at which he was being pulled was extremely fast, almost 10 times faster than when he was flying at full speed. How could he not reach the bottom of the space-time black hole after flying for a month? He imagined a possibility. Perhaps after he entered the space-time black hole, he had already fainted, and everything he was feeling now was actually a dream. Did the space-time black hole force a thought into his dream and make him perceive wrongly? Or perhaps he was already in an illusion. Was what he perceived an illusion? As a matter of fact, he had reached the bottom of the space-time black hole. It was just that there was an illusion around him that made him feel he was still flying. Reality and illusion. Lu Li felt his mind was being split. He was about to lose his mind. He forced himself not to overthink. Once again, he entered the cryptic realm to cultivate. He wanted to see how much longer he had to fly. He could not fly for the rest of his life, could he? The only thing that comforted Lu Li was that he was cultivating fast here, not just divine energy. In the cryptic realm, his mind was clearer and he had a thorough understanding of the laws around him. He was studying the 4 fundamental principles in the sword scar move. He felt it was going well. He was almost done with the second one. All that was left was for him to master it. The other 2 fundamental principles were beginner level. It was only a matter of time before he mastered them. In a trance, Lu Li didn't know how long had passed. Maybe it was half a year, maybe it was a year. He opened his eyes in a daze and found that his body was still rapidly drifting into the distance. He could not move. He couldn't even open his mouth to shout. A year. Lu Li murmured to himself. The light in his eyes dimmed down. If a year had passed, then the Earth Imperial Universe would have turned into hell. It would be pointless for him to come out from the space-time black hole. One supreme warrior and two super mighty warriors in the divinity. Even 3 average immortals could control warriors from the mortal world, not to mention warriors of such a level. Could the Lu family stand a chance when warriors of the 8 universes gathered their forces to attack the Earth Imperial Universe? Even if the Lu family had a city, it was just a low-level relic. It was indestructible to the average people, but nothing to the warriors of the divinity. Luo Yi and the other 2 could not enter the Earth Imperial Universe, but they could grant relics to the average people. If warriors of the other 8 universes were given some supreme relic weapons, they could cut open the city easily. Humans' fear often stemmed from their lack of understanding of the unknown. Lu Li did not know what was going on in the Earth Imperial Universe. He did not know how Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Xingyang, Lu Renhuang, Bai Qiushue Jiang Qiling, and Bai Xiaoshuang were doing. That was why he was growing more fearful. He could not accept the tragedy of everyone being killed. He could not imagine the danger they would be in. That was why he was restless, agitated, and scared. No, I am going to lose my mind. Lu Li's face was twisted. His eyes reddened and his breaths were short. He could not move yet. This situation could drive him mad, break him down, and turn him into a lunatic. Calm down, calm down. Maybe it is not that bad. Lu Li comforted himself. He tried to think on the bright side. In this way, he would not be so panicked, so afraid, and he would not drive himself crazy. Right. He suddenly remembered something. There were several types of space-time black holes. Some of them had a very slow flow of time. 10,000 years in the black hole could be equivalent to only 1 year in the outside world. If this was the type of space-time black hole he was in, then he could stay in there for over 1,000 years and only 1 month would pass in the outside world. That is possible. Lu Li comforted himself. Apart from this, he had no other hope. Chapter 1570. Drifting. Lu Li was like a shooting star, flying in the void with no end in sight. Maybe, he would only stop when all the energy was consumed and he was reduced to ashes. He was traveling in the darkness all by himself. He could see nothing, hear nothing, and he could not move. He did not know where his destination was. It was a frustrating feeling. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li had a strong mind, he would have broken down. What was more unbearable was that traveling in a black hole in space and time would give him a feeling that he could not tell the difference between reality and illusion. This was the most uncomfortable feeling and could easily drive him mad. How many years has it been? 5 years? 10 years? Is the Earth Imperial Universe still there? Great-grandpa, grandpa, father, Ling or Qiushue and Xiaoshuang, are they still alive? Lu Li woke up from cultivation again. He was in a worse state of mind because he realized that he was still drifting. He felt he had been drifting for at least a few years. If so, then the Earth Imperial Universe would be doomed. He lost his passion for cultivation. He was in a muddle-headed state. He was not a saint. He could not stay strong. He would be sad, lost, confused, and helpless. The emotions he had been suppressing for some time had erupted recently. He didn't want to do anything. His mood became extremely pessimistic and sad. His mind began to wander. His mind was on the verge of collapse. If this went on, he might lose his mind or even die. By then, he would turn into a mummy and float in the black hole in space and time for eternity. As the world moved on, Lu Li's expressions became more and more awful. His pupils became unfocused. His spirit was weakening. He was in a dangerous state. 5 days, 10 days. Lu Li's face became ferocious. His eyes turned redder and redder. From his throat came out some low growls. He was like a beast trying to break free from the chains. Roar, roar! He kept yelling and struggling. His mind was filled with rage and murderous intent. He wished he could tear apart all the creatures nearby. He wanted to destroy everything and break the void. Luli had reached the most dangerous stage. He had lost his mind. At this rate, he would turn into a lunatic. His normal thoughts would be taken over by rage, and he would lose himself. Right at that moment, the dragon soul in Lu Li's mind suddenly lit up. Then a soft glow enveloped his entire soul. A strand of pure energy entered Lu Li's soul. It was as if a person who was dying of thirst had drunk a drop of sweet spring water. Lu Li's entire soul came back to life. The hostility and negative emotions in his mind were gone and purified. The red light in his eyes slowly disappeared, and the ferocious expression on his face gradually calmed down. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Lu Li opened his eyes again. He was calm and collected. It could even be said that he was terrifyingly calm as a wild beast. He stared blankly at the pitch-black void, not doing anything. He just stared like that for 2 whole hours. Then, he closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. He had thought through many things. Whether or not the Earth Imperial Universe was in trouble, no matter how many years had passed. At the very least, he couldn't get out, move, or do anything. He could only cultivate and become stronger. He could only become strong enough to walk out of this space-time black hole. If he went out, the Earth Imperial Universe would have been destroyed and everyone would have been killed. Then, he would have to avenge the dead and hunt down Luo Yi and the others. This was what he should do. Grief was meaningless. Frustration could not change anything. Only by becoming stronger could he do what he wanted. Having thought things through, Lu Li entered the cryptic realm state. This time, he went into closed-door cultivation. He did not think about anything other than to see the sword of the scar move and learn it. There were only 2 things on his mind: to learn the sword of the scar move, to become stronger, and then to leave the space-time black hole. He immersed himself in cultivation. The chi and energy in his body became feeble. He seemed to have become a stone, a shooting star flying into the distance, to an unknown destination, or to a destination that would never end. 10 years, 30 years, 46 years. Lu Li could tell that he had been in the space-time black hole for 46 years. There might be some differences, or he might be wrong. Today, he opened his eyes. His eyes were glowing. He had finally learned the sword of the scar move. He had learned all 4 types of fundamental principles and had integrated them. He was confident that if he could move now, he could release Master of Ghosts' move, Sword of the Scar, and he would have 70% of the power of Master of Ghosts' move. After cultivating for so many years, his elixir had turned golden, and the divine energy in it was abundant. According to his calculations, in terms of divine energy, he should be comparable to a super mighty warrior in the divinity. The only pity was that his soul was still weak. He could not move, and he could not consume any soul-nurturing elixirs. Over the years, when he was cultivating divine energy, his soul was growing automatically. Even though it was growing at a decent speed, it was not as powerful as a super mighty warrior in the divinity. The Sword of the Scar move was powerful. Lu Li did not know the exact strength, but he believed that it should be able to kill an average super mighty warrior in the divinity. That being said, the Sword of the Scar did not seem to be of much use to Lu Li because he realized that he was still floating in there. I don't think there is an end to this black hole. If I do not figure out a way, I will be floating in there for tens of thousands of years, millions of years, or even forever. Lu Li had been focused on the Sword of the Scar move, so he did not have much time to think. Now that he had mastered the Sword of the Scar move, he finally had time to think about the black hole. He had a wrong idea. He thought that the black hole would take him to a mysterious place. He would fly on and on until he reached an end. Now, he realized that this black hole might be a tunnel of time and space with no end. Once one was trapped in it, He would be trapped and would have to fly around. Amazing! Luli exclaimed to himself. At his current speed, he could fly around the divinity for dozens of times in dozens of years. How could this tunnel be so long? Is there a natural illusion in here? Am I not moving forward? I am just moving forward? Am I just moving forward? A possibility came to Luli's mind. He sent a message to Blood Fairy after some thought. He asked her to check around to see if there were any inhibition formations. Buzzing. The interspatial ring on Luli's hand glowed. A blood-red tentacle came out and reached out. Blood Fairy was a spiritual being. She did not have a physical body, so she was not bound by the force here. Her tentacle kept reaching into the distance to check around. Only after reaching for hundreds of miles did she retract her tentacle. Master, there are no signs of inhibition formations nearby. Blood Fairy reported, there is nothing but the void. There is nothing. No formation patterns, no formation cores, nothing. I don't think there are any inhibition formations. No? Luli blinked. He could not figure it out. If there were no inhibition formations, how could the black hole be so long? Logically speaking, it did not make sense. Space? Time and space? No. Chapter 1571. In that ancient book, there was a description about the black hole. According to it, the passage of time in the black hole could be slow. 10,000 years in the black hole could be equivalent to 1 year in the outside world. The passage of time could be so fast that 1 year in the black hole could be 10,000 years in the outside world. Therefore, Luli wondered if it was because the passage of time was too slow that he had not reached the end after dozens of years. Maybe the tunnel was short, only hundreds of miles long. But since the passage of time was 10,000 times slower, he had only moved a short distance in decades. If that was really the case, then it was logically possible. Master of Heichi was an example. Master of Heichi had a special skill. He breathed out cyan airstream. Luli was trapped in the cyan airstream. The airstream only covered an area with a radius of a few miles, but it would take Luli a long time to fly out because the passage of time in the cyan airstream was slow. If that is the case, it will be wonderful. Luli's eyes glowed. If that was the case, then the decades he had spent in the black hole could only be a day or two for the outside world, or even a couple of hours. I need to figure out a way to get out. Luli's heart was burning with passion. If he could find a way to break open the tunnel and dash out, then the Earth Imperial Universe could still be saved. He still had a chance to go to the Earth Imperial Universe. However, how could he get out? He could not move at all. There was a strong restraining force in here. Besides, even if he could find a way to stand the restraining force, he would have to fly back to the exit of the black hole. He had been here for decades. Did that mean he would have to spend decades to fly out? My body is being restrained. I think it is by the force of space. Time passes so slowly in here. If I want to get out, do I have to learn a law of time? Luli had some ideas. After a while, he entered the state of Enigma state. This time, he did not study. Instead, he tried to sense the situation around him and the changes in time and space. 5 days, 1 month, half a year. Finally, Luli opened his eyes. He sensed something was off. For example, there was no fluctuation in space. Wasn't he flying fast? Why was there no fluctuation in space? There was also time. He kept flying, but he almost couldn't feel the passage of time. Now he was almost certain. The passage of time here was definitely slower than the passage of time outside, but he didn't know how much slower it was. The fact that he could sense the movement of space and the flow of time was already a huge improvement. In any case, the flow of time here was so slow, so he was not in a hurry. At worst, he could spend a few more decades comprehending the laws of time and space and break through the space-time black hole to get out. With a direction, it was much easier for Luli to study. Moreover, in the state of the cryptic spirit realm, he would be more in tune with heaven and earth, the surrounding laws would be clearer and more thorough, and it would be much easier for him to comprehend. 3 years later, he successfully comprehended a type of spatial law true intent. He became more and more excited, because as long as he could comprehend the true meaning of the law of space to the large success stage, he might be able to move his body and wouldn't be restricted in any way. 9 years later, Luli, who had been motionless, finally moved. When he opened his eyes, his body glowed. Then he flew up like a mad dragon. Although he was still pulled far away by the powerful suction force, at least he could move. Good! Luli stretched his body and was even happier. At the very least, being able to move proved that his train of thought was correct and his previous assumption was correct. As long as he could understand the law of time here, he might be able to leave. There was another reason why he was happy. His assumption was correct, which meant that the flow of time here was slow. He had been in here for decades, but only 1 or 2 days had passed in the outside world. In that case, the Earth Imperial Universe could still be saved. I have to thank the Dragon Soul, Luli exclaimed. If it were not for the Dragon Soul, he would have lost his mind and died. How could he have made it? What kind of treasure is this Dragon Soul? Is it the primordial spirit? How powerful is my sister's family? Another question came to Luli's mind. The Dragon Soul was transformed from the animal tooth pendant, which was given to her by the Lu Ling family for protection. Lu Ling's family was powerful. Not even supreme warriors in the divinity could go up to the mountain of dragons. Luli could tell many things from this point. Okay. Back to cultivation. After a couple of hours of rest, Luli resumed cultivation in high spirit. He did not feel tired at all. Instead, he was motivated. He could cultivate for dozens of years, but he would feel it was just a snap of his fingers. He saw hope, the dawn. He would not feel tired when he was cultivating in such a state. Instead, as time went by and his abilities improved, he would grow more confident and excited. It was pitch black in the void, putting people in between illusion and reality. Time seemed to be moving slowly here. But for Luli, he felt time was passing too fast. Soon, another 10 years had passed. Luli had finally mastered the law of time. He was getting more and more excited. Every time, he would stop for a couple of hours and then he would get up again to cultivate. Another 8 years passed. Luli opened his eyes. His lips moved, but his smile was stiff. He had forgotten how long it had been since he last smiled. The muscles on his face were stiff. He put on a smile which grew bigger and bigger. Then, he burst into laughter. Eventually, he stood up and threw his head back. His body was still being pulled into the distance, so his robes were fluttering in the strong wind, and his silver-white hair was also fluttering in the air. He could not stop laughing. He vented all the negative emotions and anger that he had been suppressing over the years. It has been more than 70 years, right? Luli's face was full of sorrow. His beard had grown to the length of his lower abdomen, and his white hair had almost reached his feet. He felt like he had become an old man. He had been trapped in there for more than 70 years. Since he was born, it had been less than 70 years. It would be fine if the time here was 10,000 times slower than the outside world. But if it was 10,000 times faster, then it would be more than 700,000 years in the outside world, even though he had been in there for more than 70 years. More than 700,000 years. What would become of the outside world? Would all his friends be dead? He didn't even know if Lu Ling was still alive. Luli shook his head after some thoughts. A ray of light rose from his hand and it grew brighter. He waved it to the sky and shouted, "Time stop!" Luli poured out a ray of light. The ray of light pierced into the void and then spread out like a waterfall, forming an inverted shield. In the end, an oval shield appeared and enveloped Luli. Something miraculous happened. Luli suddenly stopped moving. He was no longer being pulled into the distance by that force. Chapter 1572. After more than 70 years, Luli finally cracked open the black hole. As a matter of fact, part of the reason why he could do it so quickly was that he had a deep understanding of spatial law and fundamental principle. At the same time, he had been exposed to Master of Heichi's special skill of time. Of course, the cryptic realm was a great help as well. In this state, he was closer to heaven and earth, and could sense the world nearby. Whoosh! Luli flew into the distance like a sharp sword. He put away the 3 mountains, and his speed was dozens of times faster than before. His divine energy was abundant, no different from the average super mighty warriors in the divinity. He was confident that his understanding of laws and fundamental principle would not be weak. The only difference was that his soul was weak. When his soul could be improved, he would be a super mighty warrior in the divinity. To grow from a mighty warrior to a super mighty warrior in the divinity in more than 70 years might be too slow for Luli. But for many in the divinity it was incredible. That being said, for some geniuses in the divinity and the land of serenity, Luli's progress was not fast enough. For example, Lu Ling, the number 1 on the list, was already a super mighty warrior in the divinity, one of the top 500 on the list. There were also Pan Yuqin, Qi Xiaobai, Xian Luan and others. They were all super mighty warriors in the divinity, younger than 100 years old. In the mortal world, those below 30 years old were considered young. In the divinity, those below 100 years old were considered young. Those below 100,000 years old could be considered old. Immortals could live a long life. Usually, when they became mighty warriors in the divinity, they could live for hundreds of thousands of years. Supreme warriors in the divinity were almost immortal. Whoosh! Luli sped up to the limit. A white shield appeared around him. The suction force lost its effect. The flow of time seemed to have disappeared as well. A hole! After flying for just over 2 days, Luli saw a cave in front of him. His eyes glowed. His speculation was correct. The space-time tunnel was not long. The reason why Luli could not reach the bottom after such a long time was that the flow of time in the tunnel was slow, thousands of times slower than the outside world. Therefore, it seemed that he was flying fast, but he had not covered a long distance. That was to say, he had only been flying for 2 days, but the flow of time was tens of thousands of times slower. Luli felt like 70 years had passed, but actually, only 2 days had passed in the outside world. 2 days, so magical. Nothing was too strange in the world. Luli exclaimed. How many more secrets were there in the world? No wonder countless experts wanted to explore the space turbulent. However, this place was too dangerous. What if he entered a place where time did not slow down, but instead sped up? If one stayed inside for a year, 10,000 years might have passed in the outside world. If one were to be trapped inside for 100 years and come out, 1,000,000 years would have passed in the outside world. The world would be completely different, and all the people that one was familiar with would die. That kind of situation would probably drive many people mad, right? Whoosh! Luli flew out from the cave. When he happened to see a stream of time turbulence flying by, he felt like crying for some reason. Perhaps only a few days had passed in the outside world, but he had been trapped here for more than 70 years. He had only been born in the God world for a few decades. How many things had he experienced in those few decades? How far had he traveled? How many places had he visited? Now, he had been trapped in one place for more than 70 years. Luli touched the long beard on his chin. All kinds of feelings welled up in his mind. He did not know what to say. Luli raised his head and bellowed 3 times to release his pent-up emotions. He did not use dragon roar, but his voice was heard in an area with a radius of more than 30 miles. Luli's roars were loud and he was depressed. What? Dozens of miles away in the void there was a meteorite. On the meteorite sat a man with his legs crossed, and next to him was a huge beast. That beast was the spatial mythical beast that had been chasing after Luli. Hearing Luli's shout, the spatial mythical beast opened its eyes and stood up. Violent energy spread out from it, and there was a hint of anger in its eyes. "Big Beaver, calm down." The mysterious man waved his hand. The spatial mythical beast shook its head and tail obediently. The mysterious man was still blurry. He could not see his face, not even his figure. He looked into the distance as if he could see Luli through the void. After a while, the old man nodded and said, "This punk is talented. He has come out after only a few days. I don't think he has reached the bottom of the black hole. His energy is stronger and his divine energy is more profound. If he can come out from the black hole, he must have learned a powerful law of space or time or both. This punk is a promising young man. No wonder Our Lady has been concerned about him. No wonder our master chose him back then." "What?" the old man suddenly said in surprise again. He looked to Luli's direction. On the other side, Luli took out his demon slayer and hacked at the void. That move created a long and narrow ray of light. As soon as the ray of light was unleashed, heaven and earth were affected. Space was trembling and Xian energy in heaven and earth were surging toward that direction. It was a magnificent sight. Luli did not hack at the space directly. He paused in midair and then turned to the other side. The moment he paused, the space was trembling more violently. More energy in heaven and earth were drawn over. The beast of space that had calmed down became agitated. Swish, the ray of light paused again in midair and then changed direction. The space trembled again as more energy in heaven and earth were drawn over. The power of this move had reached its peak. It was as powerful as thunder and could destroy the world. Whoosh, the ray of light flew into the distance and landed on a meteorite 3 miles away from Luli. The stone exploded with a loud bang, instantly turning into powder, and the surrounding space was torn into tiny cracks. Ghost cut." The mysterious man sighed and stood up suddenly. He nodded and said, "To be able to comprehend the Ghost King's famous killer move, this kid can easily defeat most of the super mighty figures of the divine realm. He should be ranked in the top 150 on the divine list. Well, even if he cannot defeat Luoyi, he can at least put up a fight." "Nice," the mysterious man exclaimed. After a while, he said all of a sudden, "Since you have surprised me, I will give you a hand." As the old man spoke, he suddenly reached out to the left. Something shocking happened. In the distance, a streak of turbulence that was flying to the left suddenly changed its direction and dashed toward Luli. Ah! Luli had just released the sword mark move. Before he had time to exclaim, he saw a ray of light. Chapter 1573. So fast. Luli was carried away by that ray of light. He tried to sense the outside and realized that the ray of light was moving fast. It was not just fast. More importantly, the ray of light contained the law of time. That was to say, while it was flying, it seemed to be chasing after time. "I hope it's time turbulence and not time reversal." Luli was nervous. He sat with his legs crossed and tried to sense. Soon, he was excited. He could feel that the time outside was slower than the time inside. That was to say, it was time turbulence and not time reversal. When the ray of light traveled through space and time, it was chasing after time. Therefore, when he was in there, time did not seem to have passed. How can it be so coincidental? Am I that lucky? I was hit by the space-time turbulence? Luli was bewildered. In fact, he already had some doubts about the spatial beast, because, at the border of the divinity and the land of Yuyen, under the deep valley, the spatial beast clearly saw him, but it did not attack him. Instead, it allowed him to easily fly away. He felt that the two beasts of space were actually one. Last time, the beast of space let him go and even saved his life at a critical moment. This time, the beast of space appeared, and he just happened to be in the space-time black hole? He stayed in the space-time black hole for more than 70 years. Only a few days had passed in the outside world. Now, as soon as he came out from the space-time black hole, he was hit by another ray of light? That ray of light happened to be the space-time turbulence? Did he run into all the good things? If he was really that lucky and the son of heaven, he would not have to go through so many hardships. Luo Yi would not have gone to the purgatory of primordial chaos to kill people. He would have been struck to death by thunderbolts as soon as he stepped out. Lu Li gazed into the void in the distance. Somehow, he felt a mysterious hand was controlling everything. The owner of that mysterious hand had once saved his life? The hand gave him the skill to fly across space and helped him distract Patriarch Bao and the others? This mysterious man had helped him so much, but he never showed up. Lu Li thought that it was either he wasn't strong enough or he wasn't qualified to meet this mysterious man. Either that mysterious man did not want to meet him, or it was a matter of strength. If Lu Li was strong enough, everything would be fine. I don't want to think about it anymore. He shook his head and looked into the distance. The terrain of the 9 realms appeared in his mind as he waited for the flowing light to arrive. If he missed this chance, he would never have another chance to rescue his family and clansmen. The speed was so fast that Lu Li could barely feel the passage of time. Of course, time passed slowly in the outside world, but Lu Li still felt like he had spent a long time in the light. He kept recalling the map in his mind and compared it repeatedly. Naturally, he did not dare to continue cultivating. This time turbulence was like the blink of an eye. Who knew where they would arrive in the next second? Not knowing how long had passed, Lu Li sensed that time was a bit messed up. It was as if he had traveled through space and time. He was chasing after time, which made him feel that time was messed up. It was a strange and even strange feeling. It shouldn't be far. Lu Li saw a huge ball in front of him. The ball was emitting light and heat. It was blood-red in color and the temperature was very high. It was marked in the ancient texts, and the blood-colored orb was called the Red Devil Orb. It was said to be extremely terrifying, and many of the God World paragons who entered it had died. Fortunately, the ray of light was far away. In an instant, Lu Li had flown away. Lu Li kept his eyes on the front. According to the map, not far ahead, there would be many huge pillars of light piercing through the void. Those would be the purgatory of primordial chaos, the bridge connecting the divinity and the mortal world. Here it is. Lu Li did not know how long had passed. Anyway, time was messed up. All of a sudden, his eyes glowed. There was a huge pillar of light in front of him. The pillar was erected, with a diameter of at least tens of thousands of miles. As for its height, Lu Li could not tell. He could not see the end. Purgatory of primordial chaos. Lu Li was excited. The map indicated that the 53rd pillar of light after the Red Devil Orb was connected to the 9 universes. The ray of light moved on. It was as if the ray of light had eyes. It could turn on its own and go around the first pillar of light. 2, 3, 10, 30. Lu Li counted to himself. He was getting more excited. When he passed by the 52nd pillar of light, Lu Li yelled, "Let's go!" He poured out divine energy with one hand. A shield of light came into being around him. Then, he flew out. It was not easy to get out of the turbulence of time. Luckily, he had learned the law of time. Otherwise, he would be like the cyan airstream that the master of Heichi breathed out. It seemed that he was not far away, but he would have to fly for a long time. Using the law of time, Lu Li flew out in an instant. As he flew out, he suddenly felt something was wrong. He felt he had bumped into something. However, he used psychic power to check and found nothing. He could not afford to worry too much. He flew out quickly. If he did not get out of the turbulence of time, he would be hundreds of millions of miles away in the next second. Whoosh, he made it out. He flew away from the turbulence of time and space like a shooting star. In an instant, he vanished into the end of the void. Phew, phew! Luli breathed heavily. His eyes were glowing like two stars. He grinned. Looking at the huge pillar of light in the distance, he was trembling in excitement. If he was right, that pillar of light should be the purgatory of primordial chaos in the 9 universes. As long as he could enter the pillar of light, he could return to the purgatory of primordial chaos and the Earth Imperial Universe. He was mighty, but he came from the 9 universes. He had been to many universes, and those universes had signs of life. Theoretically speaking, those universes would not repel him. He should be able to enter the universes that he had been to because they were of the same origin. Move! He did not stop for even a moment. He flew toward the pillar of light at the top of his speed. He must find a weak spot in the pillar of light, or else he would not be able to enter the purgatory of primordial chaos. What? A moment later, he felt something was off. He stood up abruptly. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes. It was not because he had found an enemy. He felt something was inside him. He quickly sat cross-legged in the void and closed his eyes to look inside. He had a bad feeling in his heart. When he flew out from the turbulence of time, he bumped into something. Oh no! After a short moment, his eyes suddenly opened, and they were filled with terror and terror. His expression was extremely unsightly, and there was not a trace of blood on his face. He noticed that there was something in his blood and bone marrow, a colorless, odorless, formless worm. At the moment, those worms were eating his blood and bone marrow. Worms of the void. Emperor Heng died to the worms of the void. Emperor of Heaven Reverse, the owner of the ancient book, died to the worms of the void as well. Chapter 1574. The famous worms of the void must be powerful and horrifying. Both Emperor Heng and the owner of the ancient book died in the hands of the worms of the void. Out of instinct, Luli was scared. He had gone through so much to get to the purgatory of primordial chaos from the void. He was so close to success. However, the heavens had played a joke on him. He had thought that he was blessed by the heavens and that his luck was amazing. Now, he was proven wrong. It was said that Emperor Heng was a mighty warrior in the divinity. If even Emperor Heng could not survive the worms of the void, how could Luli survive? Buzzing. Luli mobilized divine energy. He tried to force the worms of the void out of his body. Everything would be fine as long as they were out. However, if the worms of the void could be forced out so easily, Emperor Heng would not have died. Luli used divine energy to check. The worms of the void were not affected at all. The worms of the void could turn into shadows, which was why they could sneak into Luli's body silently through the armor of thunder. Nothing happened to the worms of the void. Luli made up his mind. He took out the dagger and hid the armor of thunder. Then, he stabbed at his thigh. He wanted to dig out a worm of the void. Whoosh, however, as soon as the dagger stabbed into his thigh, the worm of the void sneaked away. The other worms of the void began to wander around, taking bites here and there. The worms of the void were small, but there were many of them. There must be over 100. Luli shook his head and gave up the idea. He could chop off his arms and thighs one by one. Worms of the void were already in his head. Unless he cut off his head as well, Blood Fairy, there was nothing Luli could do with the worms of the void hiding in his body. He could not kill them with divine energy. He had to count on Blood Fairy. Blood Fairy was a spiritual being. She could enter Luli's body easily. Maybe she could find a way to deal with the worms of the void. Blood Fairy reached into Luli's body with her tentacles. A moment later, she said, "Master, I am sorry. I cannot deal with those worms. They can take physical forms. They are not spiritual beings. There is nothing I can do to kill them." "What?" Blood Fairy was useless, and Fong Ao and the other spirits were useless. Fong Ao and Fong Ho were spirits, so they couldn't deal with the Void Worm. Luli did not give up. He sent a message to Yaeo. Yaeo came out from the mountain and sneaked into Luli's body. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he returned to the mountain and sent a message to Luli. If the dragon soul can help, there might be a glimmer of hope. Luli focused his mind on the dragon soul, hoping that it could help. However, the dragon soul was not under Luli's control. It would only automatically protect its master when Luli's soul was under attack. At other times, Luli could not summon it no matter how hard he tried. After a while, Luli gave up. He thought of a method that wasn't really a method, and that was to use his divine power to envelop these insects and suppress them slightly. Moreover, these worms stopped chewing for a while as if they needed to digest. Luli felt relieved after a while. If it was only at this rate, he could stand it. The flesh, blood, and bone marrow that he had devoured could be regrown using heavenly materials and earthly treasures. All he had to do was suffer a little. It's definitely not that simple. Luli remembered that Emperor Heng died not long after he returned to the 9 universes. If the Void Worm only had this much ability, then Emperor Heng definitely wouldn't die. The Void Worm probably had other tricks up its sleeve. What? After the time for several incense sticks to burn, Luli noticed something was wrong. The Void Worm was splitting into 2. At first, there were only over 100. Now there were over 200. No wonder not even Emperor Heng could stop it. Luli's face was getting paler. He made up his mind and flew toward the pillar of light in the distance. For now, he would leave the Void Worm alone. It wouldn't kill him anytime soon. He must go to the purgatory of primordial chaos to defeat or kill Luo Yi and then find a way to kill the Void Worm. Luli flew toward the pillar of light. When he was close enough, he noticed that outside the pillar of light was a white airstream that looked like clouds. No wonder it was glowing. The white airstream was wriggling and seemed to be inseparable. Luli tried to reach it with his hand. The white airstream looked like airstream, but there was an invisible force that stopped Luli's hand from reaching in. Move. Luli flew along the white airstream, looking for a weak spot in space. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he found one. The white airstream was thinner here. Occasionally there would be a crack. Too small. I can't go in. Luli gave up after a moment of observation. He wandered around. A moment later, he stopped. It was not that he had found a weak spot in space. It was that the Void Worms were gnawing at his body again. The Void Worm wouldn't eat too much because the Void Worm was too small. The Void Worm's bite felt like an ant's bite. That being said, when more than 200 Void Worms were gnawing at him at the same time, Luli was sweating and trembling from the pain. Phew, phew, the Void Worms stopped after the time for dozens of breaths. Luli took some elixirs. After the time for several incense sticks to burn, he noticed that the Void Worms were splitting up again. There were only about 500. Move! Luli made up his mind and flew on. He must make haste. Otherwise, when the Void Worms were divided into dozens or millions, they would devour his body in an instant. By then, he wouldn't even have time to heal himself. He quickly flew into the distance, and after an hour, he finally found a place. Every now and then there would be a huge crack. Though it would close up soon if Luli was fast enough, there was a good chance he could go in. Move! A moment later, Luli dashed in like a sharp sword. After a flash of white light, Luli realized he could not sense anything. He did not care anymore. He made up his mind and pressed on. After a while, he felt his vision dimmed and he fell to the ground. What? Luli used psychic power to check the surroundings at once. Then, he was overjoyed. He found this place familiar. It seemed to be the prison of darkness in the purgatory of primordial chaos. fire, wood, earth, water, gold, ice, wind, darkness, soul, and thunder. This was the 10th level of the purgatory of primordial chaos. The prison of darkness was the 8th level. As long as he could go down the prison of darkness and reach the prison of gold, he would be able to enter the Earth Imperial Universe. Move! Luli flew up and dashed into the distance like a bolt of lightning. Given his speed as a super mighty warrior in the divinity, the prison of darkness was too small for him. He could not wait to go to the entrance of the prison of darkness to confirm that this was the prison of darkness he was familiar with. The prison of darkness was dangerous. For average warriors, this place was horrifying. But for Luli, it was not enough. This is it. When Luli arrived at the entrance and dashed down from the prison of darkness to the prison of wind, he was trembling. There was a mountain at the entrance of the prison of wind, the one he remembered. Finally, he had come back from the divinity. Unfortunately, this time, he did not come back in glory. Otherwise, he could have shouted that he, Han-san, was back. He came back to save people. He had hundreds of void worms with him. Maybe, like Emperor Hung, he was lucky to come back. But he might die soon. Never mind. Let's go to the prison of gold first. Luli shook his head. This was not the time to think about these things. Everything was uncertain. He must go to the prison of gold as soon as possible to see if Luo Yi and the others were still there. To see if his family and friends were still alive. Search engine keywords. Chapter 1575. Luli's families were still alive, and so were the 4 major families of the Heaven Reverse Universe. They were all in the relic. The relic was not breached because the allied forces of the 8 universes were still attacking the Earth Imperial Universe. They had not reached the relic yet. Luli had been in the black hole for over 70 years, but only a few days had passed in the outside world. Later, the mysterious man helped him by letting him enter the turbulence of time. It didn't take long for him to arrive at the purgatory of primordial chaos in the 9 universes. All in all, Luli had spent less than 10 days. 10 days was enough for Luo Yi to control all the powerful warriors in the 6 universes and the purgatory of primordial chaos. Blazing Hui used to be Patriarch of Law Enforcement's sole slave, but he was controlled by Patriarch Luo Ye's subordinate. The means of the Divine World's Supremes and Divine World's Super Almighties were too strong, especially people like Luo Yi and the other 2. They had lived for who knew how many years, and the means at their disposal were just too many. For them, mortals were puny. They could tell the puny mortals to go where they wanted them to go. They didn't even have to use one hand to kill the puny mortals. One finger could do it. Luo Yi controlled some powerful warriors and asked them to lure more people to the prison of gold. Then, he controlled them one by one. In a couple of days, Luo Yi had basically controlled the warriors of the 8 universes apart from the Earth Imperial Universe. Then, armies were mobilized. Luo Yi had people build teleportation formations to the entrance of the Earth Imperial Universe. Tens of thousands of people could be teleported at one time. For immortals, building teleportation formations was a piece of cake. This was the mortal world, where everything was simple. The passageway connecting the Earth Imperial Universe to the prison of gold was sealed. But Patriarch Luo Ye's subordinate, cracked it in an instant. Then, armies poured in. According to Luo Ye's order, the Earth Imperial Universe was to be wiped out. Luli's family and friends were captured, and those that could not be captured were killed. All the powerful warriors of the 8 universes gathered. There were over 20 semi-god realm warriors, hundreds of Earth Immortal Realm warriors, and countless human Sovereign Realm, Earth Immortal Realm and Noble Lord Realm warriors. In total, there were over 300,000 warriors. Blazing Hua, Chen Tianxian, and the others were also given divine artifacts. They were not given high-level divine artifacts, only upper divine artifacts. From Luo Ye's point of view, the divine city was just a low-grade divine artifact. However, it was a low-grade divine artifact after all. A few soul formation cultivators and a few superior-grade divine artifacts could easily break it. With so many powerful warriors, they could sweep across the Earth Imperial universe at will. As a matter of fact, the army swarmed into the Earth Imperial universe and swept across. No force could stop them. All were suppressed and massacred. Wherever they passed, not even the fowls and dogs were spared. Cities were burned and destroyed, and treasures and resources were divided up. Luo Yi had thought that with such a powerful army and powerful warriors, it would be a piece of cake for the Lu family to take down all of Lu Li's family members. It wouldn't be long before he received news of victory. He had miscalculated one thing: the marching speed of the army. The army's speed was quite fast at first, but they quickly dispersed because they found that it was easy to get rich from looting a realm. However, Luo Yi didn't specify how long it would take to capture Lu Li's people or how long it would take to breach the relic city. Hence, the powerhouses who had become the sole slaves of the Elders of the Darkness Shrine did not restrain the army. As far as they were concerned, breaching the relic city was only a matter of time. Half a month later or half a month earlier did not matter. What was more, the marching speed was slow. It would take time for the army to move at full speed. Once the army dispersed, it would be troublesome to regroup. Luo Yi and the others were all in the prison of gold and had no idea what was going on inside. For Luo Yi and the others, half a month was just a blink of an eye. They didn't think it was a big deal. This gave Lu Li a lot of precious time. When Lu Li arrived at the prison of gold, he rushed toward the Earth Imperial universe at full speed. Along the way, he found some scouts sent by the major families. Through the scouts, Lu Li learned about the Earth Imperial universe. He was overjoyed. The Earth Imperial universe had not fallen yet, and the relic city might still be standing. When he learned that the army had been in the Earth Imperial universe for some time and that Luo Yi and the others were at an entrance, Lu Li made up his mind after the time for 10 breaths. He decided to go to the Earth Imperial universe first instead of Luo Yi and the others. Killing Luo Yi would come later. The priority was to protect the relic city and all the people. There was more than one entrance to the Earth Imperial universe. There were 3. For the sake of safety, Lu Li put the scouts into the wicked bead in case they would leak information. According to his memory, Lu Li went to a secluded entrance to the Earth Imperial universe and went into stealth mode. There were still some scouts in the prison of gold, but Lu Li could not be seen when he was invisible. Not even the beasts of primordial chaos in the prison of gold could sense him. Lu Li flew as if he was on the ground. The prison of gold was large for the old Lu Li, but it was small for him now. In a couple of hours, he found the hidden entrance. Is it sealed? Lu Li checked and found that the entrance was sealed. He smiled. Without Blood Fairy's help, he cracked the seal with one move. Let's go. Lu Li slowed down. He was about to become a super mighty warrior in the divinity. His might was strong. Theoretically, it was not a problem to go in. But what if the universe collapsed? At that time, everyone inside would die. Lu Li slowed down to the slowest and kept an eye on the surroundings. If anything went wrong, he would come out at once. He entered the tunnel. There was a flash of white light. Everything was normal. He did not feel any discomfort. Okay. Lu Li opened his eyes. He was delighted to find that he had arrived at the Earth Imperial universe. He moved his body and felt no discomfort. He could not afford to be careless. A ray of divine energy glowed in his hand as he smashed at the mountain in front of him. Boom! The mountain exploded in the middle, and the surrounding space shattered into pieces. It looked like the entire space had collapsed. Lu Li sensed it and his expression became solemn. The mortal world was small and the space was unstable. He could not believe that a random divine energy attack could cause such a disturbance in the space. I cannot use an attack that is too strong. Luli thought about it, but then he remembered that all the warriors in the Earth Imperial universe were mortals. Given his abilities, he did not even have to use weapons to kill mortals. He could crush them with one finger. Move! Luli was confident. He checked the direction and sped up to the top of his speed. He dashed on in a blur. In the time for one breath, he was already 3,000 miles away. He was as fast as lightning. What is that? There happened to be a team of warriors in a mountain 3,000 miles away. Luli did not hide himself. They only saw a ray of white light, and then Luli had vanished into the distance. They did not even see what it was, not to mention Luli's face. In the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Luli did not know how far he had traveled. All of a sudden, he stopped. He did not arrive at the city. He noticed that there was a war going on ahead. To be exact, the army was massacring the city. There was a city up ahead. The city had been dyed red with blood. Over 10,000 warriors were looting and burning in the city. Many had died. The scene was too horrible to look at, courting death. Chapter 1576. The situation in the city was tragic. To put it more precisely, it was bloody. There should be millions of civilians in the city. At the moment, there were more than 1 million dead bodies in and out of the city. The rest of the people were still being massacred, and many beautiful women were being raped. Blood, dead bodies, women's screams, and children's cries formed a cruel scene. Luli's roar froze the scene. Luli's name was so resounding that it was like thunder in everyone's ears. It had not been long since Luli went to the divinity. This time, he was invading the Earth Imperial Universe, the territory of Luli's family. Therefore, for the invading army, Luli's name was like a slap in the face. For the people of the Earth Imperial Universe, Luli was their god. He was their god. Over the years, the Lu family had been worshipping Luli like a god. The only god that the civilians of the Earth Imperial Universe worshipped was Luli. Statues of Luli could be found in every city. Just now, many people were praying to Luli when they were being slaughtered. It was a pity that Luli did not cultivate the energy of faith, so he could not feel it. Luli! Countless people raised their heads and saw a man covered in armor from head to toe. Since Luli was wearing a helmet that covered his face, many could not believe their eyes. That being said, Luli was so strong that it was frightening. Buzzing, Luli put away the cloaking armor, revealing his cyan robe and his signature white hair. Out of instinct, many people turned to the statue in the city when they saw Luli's face. "It is Emperor Luli!" Someone shouted. Luli had ascended to the divinity for many years. Yet, his appearance did not change much. He looked the same as when he ascended, just like the statue. "It is the Emperor. The Emperor has shown himself. The Emperor did not abandon us. Great Emperor, please help your people and kill all these demons. Emperor, you must avenge us." Many people shouted. Then, many dropped to their knees. Many were on the verge of death. Even so, they crawled up and kowtowed to Luli. Tears welled up in their eyes. At this critical moment, Luli had heard their prayers. He had come. It meant that praying to the immortal Luli was useful. Luli? The tens of thousands of warriors were stunned. Wasn't Luli in the divinity? How could he be in the Earth Imperial Universe? Didn't their leaders promise that Luli wouldn't show up? Invading troops, get out of the city and gather outside. Luli shouted with strong killing intent. Divine might spread out from him. Nobody dared to go against his will. The soldiers inside looked at each other, not knowing what to do. In the end, they all cast their divine wills on their commander, an old man in the divine transformation realm. That old warrior had been cultivating in the purgatory of primordial chaos for many years. He did not know much about Luli. He was Luo Ye's sole slave, so he was not afraid of Luli. He made up his mind, cupped his fists and said, "Lord Luli, right? I've long heard about your matter, and we're just following orders. I hope you can forgive us. Xiao. Luli released a ray of Xian energy which shot out like a sharp sword. The semi-god realm warrior was hit before he could react. Boom. Something that shocked countless people happened. The soul formation realm old man, who was like a god to them, was casually hit by a ray of light from Luli. Then, his body exploded and turned into minced meat that filled the sky. Get out of the city and gather outside the eastern side of the city. Luli shouted again. This time, many people dared not to fight back. They all flew out of the city. In the time for one incense stick to burn, they were all out of the city. In total, over 10,000 warriors knelt on the ground. They knew that they were in trouble. The Earth Imperial Universe belonged to Luli's family. They came in and slaughtered at will. Luli happened to be back. How could he let this go? Now, it was up to Luli to start a killing spree. Emperor Luli, an Earth Immortal Realm warrior shouted, we were forced to do this. 3 immortals came from the divinity, and they have taken control of our emperor. We had no choice but to do so under the orders of our emperor, no choice? Making sure that there were no invading warriors in the city, Luli turned around and said with a cold grin, you cannot disobey orders. You cannot stop burning, killing, and looting, right? You have no choice but to kill the children, the elderly, and the women? You have no choice but to humiliate the women, right? You are a bunch of animals. Since you have done what animals do, then go to hell. Be animals in your next life. Buzzing, Luli waved his hand. Then, instead of using Space Twist, he took out the Demon Slayer and hacked at the enemies. Swish, a ray of sword light with a length of over 1,000 feet whooshed on. It was as if the ray of sword light was cutting through straws. All the warriors touched by the ray of sword light were cut in half or exploded into a mist of blood. Hiss hiss, some warriors flew up to the city wall to take a look. They saw that Luli had killed thousands in one move, including some human sovereign realm warriors and an Earth Immortal Realm warrior. Everyone was taken aback. Was this the power of an immortal? Also, Luli did not seem to use much strength. It was just a casual move. Whoosh whoosh, Luli swung his sword again. His eyes were as cold as steel. Seeing the miserable state in the city, he was enraged to the extreme. He had made up his mind that he would kill all the invaders, leaving no one alive. Bang bang bang. After the third move, there was no one alive outside the city. Luli turned to the warriors in the city, the warriors on the city wall with blood on their faces and bodies. He said in a deep voice, I am sorry, guys. I did not do a good job. You have suffered such a great loss. Go and heal the wounded. I will go and save the others. Don't worry. None of the invaders of the Earth Imperial Universe will survive. Plop, plop on the city wall, many people dropped to their knees. Their faces were filled with sincerity and zeal. Following one person's lead, they all shouted, Thank you, Your Majesty. May you live as long as the heavens. They did not know how to express their gratitude and admiration to Luli. They kept kowtowing until the floor cracked. They did not know that it was Luli who brought this disaster. They were just grateful that Luli showed up at the most critical moment, helped them avert the disaster and avenge them. Phew, phew, Luli looked at the people who were full of zeal and admiration. He did not know what to feel. Those were average civilians. They were not ambitious. All they wanted was to live a peaceful life. Now, a disaster had come out of nowhere and disrupted their peaceful lives. Many had died, and many had to endure humiliation that they would never forget. All of this was because of Luli. Yet, they were so grateful to him. Alas! Luli heaved a sigh. He was enraged. Though the civilians of the Earth Imperial Universe were not his family, they were no different from his family to him because they all believed in him. Back when he wiped out the Dark Shrine, he did not kill women and children. Luo Yi had crossed the line. Luo Yi, I will kill you! Luli bellowed. In a blur, he vanished into the distance. Chapter 1577. What? At the entrance to the prison of gold and the Earth Imperial Universe, Luo Yi was cultivating in a small mountain. Patriarch Lu flew up and reported, "Grand Master, 4 of my soul slaves are dead." 4 dead? Luo Yi was surprised. All of Patriarch Lu's soul slaves were at the semi-god realm. There were 28 semi-god realm warriors in the Earth Imperial Universe. It was said that the Lu family only had several semi-god realm warriors. The most powerful one was Lu Renhuang. Even though Bai Qiuxue, Jiang Qiling, Prajna, and the others were at the semi-god realm, their abilities were limited. At the very least, Bai Qiuxue, Prajna, and the others were strong. The Lu family had more semi-god realm warriors than the Lu family. How come 4 semi-god realm warriors were dead? Patriarch Lu paused for a moment. His face was clouded again. He forced a smile and said, 2 more semi-god realm warriors are dead. This is strange. Did someone from the Lu Li family become an immortal? Otherwise, how could so many have died? Luo Yi raised his eyebrows. He stood up and paced back and forth on the peak. After a while, he said, "Send an avatar into a warrior's body and control the warrior to go to the Earth Imperial Universe to find out the specific situation." Okay. Patriarch Lu left at once and found a human sovereign realm warrior. He used a secret skill to send an avatar into the warrior's soul and control him to go to the Earth Imperial Universe. They could not go to the Earth Imperial Universe. That being said, sending an avatar into a warrior's soul was not a problem. Patriarch Lu just went in to check and did nothing else. Patriarch Lu's expressions changed when he noticed that another semi-god realm warrior had lost spiritual connection with him. Patriarch Lu had a spiritual connection with the soul slave. Once the connection was lost, it meant that the soul slave had died. What is going on? According to the information, Lu Renhuang is not that powerful. He should be about the same level as Blazing Hua, maybe weaker. How can he kill so many semi-god realm warriors so easily? Boom, boom, boom. In a city in the middle of the Earth Imperial Universe, a glaring light came out. Then, many warriors were slaughtered as if they were straws. Lu Li's eyes were bloodshot. He had killed 5 groups, more than 100,000 warriors in total. He had already scouted it out. This time, there were more than 300,000 soldiers, and they were divided into 10. 4 of the armies went directly to the Divine City, while the other 6 spread out to carry out Luo Ye's order, to leave the Earth Imperial Universe barren and no one alive. Blazing Hua, Chen Tianxian, and the others had gone to the Divine City. They had slaughtered their way through the city. They should be arriving at the Divine City soon. Moreover, many of them had high-grade divine artifacts on them. Lu Li was worried about the city, but he didn't hurry over. He believed that the city could hold on for some time. He needed to annihilate the other 6 armies. Otherwise, these 6 armies would cause the deaths of millions of warriors and civilians. After slaughtering the warriors here, Lu Li flew away quickly without saying anything to the warriors here. For every breath of time he delayed, it was very likely that thousands of people would die. He flew eastward at top speed. He knew that there was another army in the east, attacking a large city there. An hour later, Lu Li arrived at the city. He used psychic power to check. His expression was awful. The entire city had been reduced to ruins. A conservative estimate was that 3 million people had died in the city. Not a single person survived. This army had carried out Luo Ye's order perfectly. Everywhere they went, not even a single living being was spared. Ah! Lu Li bellowed in rage. His voice was so loud that space was trembling. He used psychic power to check and then flew toward the north. In the time for one incense stick to burn, Lu Li had caught up with an army. This army was resting in a valley. Lu Li could hear the cries of many girls. Some beautiful girls had been abducted and many warriors were committing sexual acts in the valley. Go to hell! Luli didn't want to waste any more time. He bellowed, exerted force in heaven and earth, and dashed away. He dashed into some tents and tore the warriors apart with his bare hands. Then, he put the girls into the wicked bead one by one. When all the girls were saved, Luli flew up. Killing intent surged out from him. He began to gather divine energy in one hand. A huge handprint appeared in the air. Lord Lu, I am Hui Yu. From down below came a shout of surprise. That person had used all of his strength to shout. Lu Li's control over space had weakened when he went to save the girls. Otherwise, that person would not have been able to shout. Lu Li threw a glance down. His control over space weakened. That person dropped to his knees at once and said in fear, Lord Lu, I am from the Hua family. Blazing Hua is my grandfather. Your grandfather? Lu Li put on a mocking grin. Then you deserve to die. Blazing Hua knows my temper, and yet you still dared to commit such acts. All of you deserve to die. Swish, swish. Lu Li generated a hand with a length of more than 2 miles and smashed down. As soon as the hand appeared, the entire space trembled. The shock wave spread far and wide, affecting an area with a radius of at least 300,000 miles. Boom, the ground trembled. Dust rose up. The entire valley disappeared, and so did the mountains nearby. Amidst the dust, there was a bottomless pit. The 20,000 warriors were smashed into the ground and turned into dust. Not even their bodies were left behind. Boom, 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 a chain reaction was triggered on the ground. Such a powerful attack had triggered a backlash from the laws of nature in this universe. At that moment, the entire universe seemed to be trembling. Civilians in the nearby cities felt the world was falling apart. They ran out of their homes in fear and dropped to their knees, worshipping Lu Li's statue. What? At the same time, the 100,000 warriors and some powerful warriors gathered outside the relic were taken aback. They all sensed something was not right. They sensed the shaking of the ground, the abnormality in space, and the movement of the energy in heaven and earth. They all turned to where Lu Li was. They had a bad feeling. Attack! Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian looked at each other and gave the order to attack. There was no time to lose. They must break into the relic as soon as possible and capture Lu Li's family. It would be safer for them to leave the Earth Imperial Universe and go to Luoye's place. Something is wrong with the fluctuation in heaven and earth. In the Divine City, Lu Renhuang and Patriarch of Law Enforcement looked at each other. Both of them looked solemn. They did not know what was going on. But to them, the abnormal fluctuation in space in the Earth Imperial Universe did not bode well. Oh no! At the same time, at the entrance to the Prison of Gold and the Earth Imperial Universe, Patriarch Lu opened his eyes. He flew up to Luo Yi and reported, Grand Master, I just sensed a strong fluctuation in space through my avatar. Mortals cannot create such a disturbance in space. Either someone in the Lu family has become an immortal, or Lu Li is back. Lu Li is back? A glint of coldness rose in Lu Li's eyes. He grinned and said, If only Lu Li is back, I will make sure he dies without a burial place. Chapter 1578. There were over 100,000 warriors gathered in the relic, including many powerful ones. Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian did not want to kill civilians and low-level warriors. Therefore, they led the army directly to the relic. Of course, they killed all the warriors and cities they encountered along the way. They could not disobey Luoye's orders. Soul slaves would follow their master's orders without question. Patriarch Lu's order was to kill everyone on sight. At Blazing Hua's order, the 100,000 warriors began to launch long-range attacks at the relic. Below the relic, there was a city named by Luli himself, the City of Great Land. Fortunately, Patriarch of Law Enforcement knew that a fight was inevitable. Therefore, he had moved the warriors away. Most of them were from the 4 major families, and some from the Heaven Reverse Universe. Patriarch of Law Enforcement moved them into the mysterious realm. Boom, boom, boom. The 100,000 warriors attacked together. The relic gave out a dark glow. However, nothing happened, not to mention that the relic was smashed away. Impressive! Blazing Hua and the others exclaimed. The relic had been absorbing energy for so many years. If they did not have relics, it would be impossible to break the relic. Now that so many semi-god realm warriors had high-quality relics, it should not be a problem to break the relic. After all, the high-quality relics were powerful. Attack! Blazing Hua shouted. All the semi-god realm warriors sprang into action. They came to the relic and hacked at the relic with their relic weapons. Buzzing! The relic gave out a dark glow. This time, the relic was shaking violently. The force moved the relic for more than 1,000 feet. Everyone in the relic could feel the tremor. Oh no! Lu Renhuang was taken aback. Just now, the relic lost 1/20th of its energy. In other words, after 20 strikes, the relic would explode. How is this possible? Patriarch of Law Enforcement and Lu Xingyang could not believe it. They did not see any strange warriors outside. They were just warriors from the other 8 universes. How could they lose so much energy in one strike? Their weapons! Lu Renhuang used psychic power to check and noticed something was wrong. At first, those warriors did not take out their weapons. But now, Lu Renhuang noticed that their weapons were powerful. Divine artifact, this is troublesome. The law enforcement elder also sensed it. A metal rod appeared in his hand as he shouted to the people behind him, "Everyone, get ready. Once the divine city is breached, we will fight to the death. No one can become a captive. If you are captured, explode yourself or you will get Luli into trouble. Do you understand? If we die, Luli will avenge us. Fight to the death." The tens of thousands of people standing in the divine city plaza all roared, their eyes filled with the determination to die. Though they were all from the Heaven Reverse Universe, they had developed some pride after staying in the Earth Imperial Universe for so many years. The Lu clan was the #1 clan in the 9 realms. How could they surrender? Boom! The divine city shook violently once again. Many of the buildings inside collapsed, and the divine city felt as if it had been sent flying. Lu Renhuang tried again and found that the energy had decreased by 1/20th. The relic armor appeared over Lu Renhuang's body and the relic weapon in his hand glowed. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes as he said, "Later, I will rush out first. You guys follow me. Do not attack from afar. Go straight into the enemies and kill as many as you can." Yes. The tens of thousands of people yelled in unison. Half of them were disciples of the Lu family or warriors recruited by the Lu family. There were 2 semi-god realm warriors as well, but they were not the best. Boom! The divine city was attacked again and again. The atmosphere in the city was heavy. Patriarch of Law Enforcement took a look around the city and was relieved. Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiuxue, Bai Xiaoshuang, Prajna, and the young elites had all been sent away. The Lu family was not completely destroyed. Patriarch of Law Enforcement could answer to Luli. His death was worth it. Boom! After the divine city was attacked for 19 times, Lu Renhuang shot out a ray of Xian energy. The city gate was opened. Patriarch of Law Enforcement shouted, "Charge, whoosh!" Lu Renhuang was the first to dash out. While flying, he waved his weapon. Ice elements were attracted to him. He swung his saber and shouted, "Ice and heaven and earth." When the saber slashed out, no saber light appeared. Instead, the surrounding space turned into a thick layer of ice. The 4 semi-god realm warriors and the Earth Immortal realm warriors outside the gate were all frozen. Slaying God with ice sword. Lu Renhuang wielded his relic weapon. The ice in the sky turned into swords of ice and shot out. The 4 semi-god realm warriors and the earth immortal realm warriors became target practice. They were hit by the swords of ice. Bang bang bang. None of the earth immortal realm warriors could stand it. After a moment, their bodies were riddled with holes. 3 of the 4 semi-god realm warriors were stabbed to death and 1 was smashed away. The power of the Ice Fiend is impressive. The warriors on the ground were shocked. It was said that Lu Renhuang had reached the peak of the semi-god realm many years ago. He was only half a step away from ascending to the immortal realm. There was also a rumor that he could have ascended to the immortal realm. But because the Lu family did not have a powerful warrior, the immortal realm warrior had been delayed. In 2 moves, Lu Renhuang had killed 3 semi-god realm warriors and 1 at the peak of the semi-god realm. The power of the Ice Fiend was not just a rumor. Lu Renhuang, I am sorry. We are just following orders. Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian looked at each other and then dashed toward Lu Renhuang from the left and right. Blazing Hua was covered in flames. The flames turned into lotus lanterns, floating in the air, and moving toward Lu Renhuang like ghosts. Hoi! Lu Renhuang dashed forward fearlessly. Patriarch of Law Enforcement led a group of warriors down the city and pierced into the army on the ground like a sharp sword. Soon, the 2 sides began to fight at close quarters. In an instant there were many casualties. Bang! Lu Renhuang, Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian exchanged a few moves. Suddenly, Lu Renhuang was smashed away, and one of his hands was cut off. This relic Lu Renhuang was shocked. His relic weapon and Blazing Hua's relic weapon clashed against each other, and Blazing Hua's relic weapon was cut off in 1 move. Lu Renhuang could not react in time, and his arm was cut off as well. He was defeated in a few moves. Lu Renhuang, accept your fate. Blazing Hua flew over and said with a sigh, this relic weapon is a top-grade one. The 3 lords out there are all important figures in the divinity. I heard that they are overlords of a force in the divinity. Even Luli is a puny insect to them, let alone us. If you surrender now, we can spare your lives. Ha ha ha. Blood gushed out from Lu Renhuang's mouth. He laughed coldly. Surrender? I have never seen such a coward in the Lu family. Blazing Hua, you are helping the wicked. Karma will befall you. When my son comes back, the Hua family will be destroyed. Come back. Blazing Hua sneered. So many have ascended from the 9 universes. How many have come back? None. Only Emperor Heng. Is that so? Right at that moment, from the distance came a thunderous shout. Blazing Hua, Chen Tianxian, I, Luli, have been in the divinity for so many years. Have you forgotten what I did? Chapter 1579. It had been years since Luli went to the divinity. Even so, as soon as his voice was heard, those who were familiar with him could recognize it. As soon as Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian heard the voice, they felt chills running down their spines and fear crept into their hearts. Over the years, Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian had this impression of Luli. Luli was like a mountain, suppressing them forever. They could not surpass or defeat Luli. If it was before, many people would only feel depressed, but the current situation was different. They were invading the Earth Imperial Universe and attacking Blazing Hua's father. They even cut off Lu Renhuang's hand. Luli had come back at this moment. How could they not be afraid? How could they not feel guilty? As far as Blazing Hua and the others were concerned, Luli would never come back. After all, not even Emperor of Heaven Reverse, Yen Tiangang, and the others could come back. Emperor Heng, the only one who did, died soon. Lu Renhuang was about to fly up from the ground and risk his life to fight against Blazing Hua and the others when he heard the voice. He trembled and turned to the south. In addition to Lu Renhuang, Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Xingyang, Jiang Hua, and Ming Yu all stopped fighting and looked to the south. Even the invading armies were afraid to move. They turned to the south. Whoosh, from the south came a glare. A man was growing larger and larger. In a blink, a white-haired young man appeared in the sky. Li Er. Lu Renhuang, Lu Xingyang, Patriarch of Law Enforcement, and the others felt tears welling up in their eyes. When the Lu family was about to be wiped out, Lu Li came back again. He came back from the distant divinity. This was enough to make many people weep. It is Lu Li. Lu Li is back. Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian looked at each other. Their faces were pale and their eyes were filled with despair. They knew Lu Li's character very well. If you were on good terms with someone like Lu Li, he would treat you like a true friend. Once he was enraged, the consequences would be dire. Lu Li had crossed the line by invading the Earth Imperial Universe and slaughtering so many people. Everyone involved in this invasion would have to face their death. The Emperor is back. Young Master is back. Young Master will avenge us. Young Master, my brother is dead. You must help us kill these bastards. Mighty great Emperor, mighty great Emperor! The tens of thousands of warriors of the Lu family shouted in excitement. For many people, Lu Li was a god, the biggest reliance of the Lu family. When the Lu family and the Lu family were being bullied and slaughtered, Lu Li's appearance was like a miracle to them. Luckily, I made it back in time. Lu Li took a look. Only thousands of the Lu family had died. The important ones were still alive. Only some disciples of the immediate Lu family seemed to have died. Looking at Lu Renhuang's severed arm, Lu Li grinned. The smile sent chills down Blazing Hua and the others' spines. It was a bloodthirsty smile. Great-grandpa, grandpa, father, please step back. I need to reason with Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian. Lu Li glanced over like lightning. Nobody dared to move under his pressure. Patriarch of Law Enforcement and the others gave the order to retreat at once. Some of the enemies wanted to take action, but none dared to do so when Lu Li threw them a cold glance. Alas, Chen Tianxian and Blazing Hua looked at each other. They flew down and dropped to one knee. Blazing Hua bowed and said, Lord, our souls are being controlled by force. We cannot fight back. We have done wrong. We do not want to explain or beg for mercy. All we want is death. We only hope that you can forgive our people. We forced them to invade the Earth Imperial Universe. Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian knelt down, and then the others. Lu Li did not release too much energy, nor did he kill anyone. Just because he was Lu Li, he could make everyone kneel. Lu Li said nothing. He stared at the hundreds of thousands of warriors on their knees. His silence made the atmosphere even more depressing. However, nobody dared to say anything. They waited for Lu Li's final decision and verdict. You are being controlled. Finally, Lu Li said. He did not sound angry, but extremely cold. You cannot disobey the orders of the powerful warriors in the divinity. Maybe you are not wrong. But are the innocent people of the Earth Imperial Universe wrong? So many cities were slaughtered. So many innocent people died. So many girls were raped. So many old people and children were killed. Are they wrong? If you are not dead, how can their souls rest in peace? You must all die. But I will not look into what happened next. What? Many people looked up in fear. Lu Li's words could not be questioned. None of those who invaded the Earth Imperial Universe could survive. Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian looked at each other. They felt bitter. That being said, they were comforted by the fact that Lu Li had shown mercy. He stated that he would not go to their universes and wipe out their families after he killed all the invading armies. Thank you, Lord. Blazing Hua and Chen Tianxian kowtowed. Then, they slapped their own heads at the same time. They had chosen a dignified way to die. Otherwise, if Lu Li were to kill them, they would not be able to leave a whole body. Boom. The two men's heads shook, but they didn't shatter. Only their souls were shattered. The two of them collapsed to the ground. Their descendants screamed, but none of them fought back. They didn't even dare to look at Luli with hatred. Luli was a deterrent to them. None of you will survive. Luli said coldly, if you want a dignified way to die, then kill yourselves. If I take action, you will not be able to leave a whole body. Luli's words made the atmosphere even more depressing. Maybe many could face death and were prepared for it. However, at the moment of real death, many would be frightened out of instinct and would want to run away. Whoosh, several thousand people fled, all of them rising into the air, fleeing in all directions. However, as soon as they moved, an invisible force pressed down on them. None of them could move. Don't even think about running away. You cannot. I will give you the time for 10 breaths to kill yourselves, or I will end your lives for you. Luli's cold voice was heard. Once again, panic spread. Those who wanted to run lost all hope when they realized that they could not even move a finger. Luli stopped the force. Many warriors made up their minds and slapped their own heads. They fell to the ground one by one. With someone taking the lead, more followed suit and committed suicide. More than 70% of the hundreds of thousands of people committed suicide within 10 breaths of time. The scene was exceptionally spectacular. One by one, they hit their own Tianling acupoints and then all fell to the ground. Blood flowed out of their mouths, noses, ears, and eyes, dyeing the ground red. Whoosh whoosh. Chapter 1580. The 300,000 invading warriors were all killed. They were almost the main force of the 8 universes. The 8 universes would not be able to recover for at least hundreds of years after Luli slaughtered the 300,000 warriors. The Earth Imperial Universe suffered a great loss as well. Hundreds of cities were destroyed. More than 100 million civilians and warriors were killed. Even though most of the casualties were civilians, the Earth Imperial Universe did not suffer a great loss. That being said, Luli still felt guilty. Those were his people. It was because of him that so many had died. Luli did not worry about the rest after the massacre. He flew to the city. The divine city was not destroyed. At the last moment, Lu Xingyang, Patriarch of Law Enforcement, rushed out with his men. What? Lu Renhuang went into the city to tend to his wounds. He saw Luli standing in the castle with his back to the gate. Luli was trembling and cold sweat was running down the back of his neck. Lu Renhuang frowned and said, Luli, it is not all your fault. Don't blame yourself. Luli was not trembling because of self-blame, but because of the worms of the void. There were more than 2,000 worms of the void in his body now. Every time they ate, they would move together. Strong as Luli was, he could not suppress them completely. Fortunately, the worms of the void were small. They stopped after a while. Luli took a rest and took 2 pellets. He turned around and forced a smile. Father, where are Qiling, Qiushue, and Xiaoshuang? They have been sent to the mysterious realm. Lu Renhuang looked at Luli for a while. Seeing that Luli was fine, Lu Renhuang was not worried. Should I send them back? Lu Renhuang asked. Not yet. Luli waved his hand. Luo Yi and the others were outside. It would be pointless for Bai Qiushue and the others to come back without killing or defeating them. Also, the worms of the void in his body must be solved. Otherwise, the 3 of them would be able to tell when they came back. Buzzing, Luli took out some regular healing pellets and handed them to Lu Renhuang. Father, these are healing pellets from the divinity. They are gentle. You should tend to your wounds first. Luli had better healing pellets, but he could not give them to Lu Renhuang for fear that the latter might not be able to stand it. Lu Renhuang took over the pellets without wasting time. As soon as the pellets entered his body, he felt warm all over. His arms began to grow back. The divinity's pellets were amazing. Whoosh, a moment later, Patriarch of Law Enforcement came back with several relic weapons in his hands. They were all of high quality. Patriarch of Law Enforcement handed them to Lu Li and said, "Lu Li, these are the relics we seized. They look advanced. Take them." "Great-grandpa, just take them." Lu Li shook his head. "These are just high-quality relics. They are nothing to me." "I'll give you some transcendent-grade divine artifacts later. I have many good divine artifacts." Patriarch of Law. Patriarch of Law Enforcement's eyes glowed. It seemed that Lu Li was doing well in the divinity. Patriarch of Law Enforcement asked, "Lu Li, how did you come back? Moreover, you came back so quickly. If you were any later, the consequences would be unimaginable." "I came back from traveling through space and time in the void." Lu Li gave a random explanation. Patriarch of Law Enforcement would not understand this anyway. After a while, Lu Li let Blood Fairy out and said, "Blood Fairy, go and modify the relic city. Make it stronger." The city was only a low-level divine item. If Blood Fairy made some changes to the city's magic formation, its defensive power would increase significantly. Lu Li planned to leave the prison of gold as soon as possible. After he dealt with Luo Yi and the others, he would focus on dealing with the worms of the void. Otherwise, he would become the next Emperor Heng and die soon. "Lu Li, there are 3 immortals outside the prison of gold. I heard that they are more powerful than Emperor of Heaven Reverse," Patriarch of Law Enforcement said worriedly. Lu Li smiled and said with confidence, "I am stronger than an emperor now. Don't worry, Great-Grandpa. I can handle it." Surpassed Great Emperor? Patriarch of Law Enforcement was shocked. How long had it been since Lu Li went to the divinity? It had been hundreds of thousands of years since Emperor of Heaven Reverse ascended to the immortal world. How could Lu Li be stronger than him? His great-grandson was indeed an extraordinary person. Perhaps he could bring them to the divine realm in this lifetime? A moment later, Lu Xingyang, Jiang Wua, and Yi Luo came. They sighed when they saw Lu Li. Ming Yu had already arranged for many people to go to the major cities to help the wounded and rescue the dying, as well as to hunt down the remaining invaders. However, there was no one left to save. Wherever the army passed, there was no one left alive. "Take good care of them." Lu Li brought Lu Feishue to a side chamber, and let out some girls that he put in the wicked bead. Those girls were violated. If it were not for Lu Li, they would have been tortured to death. "Master, it is done." After the time for 4 incense sticks to burn, Blood Fairy said, "The modification of the formations in the relic city is complete. The city's defense has been improved by at least 10 times. Only a mighty warrior from the divinity can crack it." "Okay." Lu Li nodded. He was about to give some orders when Ming Yu came in a hurry with a piece of news. A human sovereign realm warrior had sent a message on behalf of Grand Master of the Hall of Darkness, telling Lu Li to go to the Prison of Gold at once or else he would send a super mighty warrior to the Earth Imperial Universe. If the Earth Imperial Universe collapsed, everyone in the divine realm would die. Lu Li sneered. He was thinking about going to Luo Yi. How could Luo Yi be afraid that Lu Li would not go out? Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Tell that man to tell Luo Yi that I will go out in 10 days and let Luo Yi die." Ming Yu left to make the arrangements. The others looked at Lu Li with worry. Jiang Wua asked, "Lu Li, is the Hall of Darkness strong? How powerful is their Grand Master in the divinity?" Looking at the worried faces, Lu Li explained, "The Hall of Darkness is one of the 72 sects in the divinity. Their Grand Master is a supreme warrior in the divinity. There is a list in the divinity. Most powerful warriors are on the list. The top 100,000 warriors on the list are mighty warriors in the divinity, including Emperor of Heaven Reverse. The top 10,000 are super mighty warriors in the divinity, including Luo Ye's 2 followers. The top 100 are supreme warriors in the divinity, including Luo Yi. What? Everyone was taken aback. They knew the 3 immortals out there were powerful, but not this powerful. How powerful would the top 100 be in the divinity? Don't worry. Lu Li waved his hand. I have been hunted down by several supreme warriors in the divinity for a long time. One of the most powerful forces in the divinity, the craftsman's sect, has been hunting me down for years. But they could not kill me. That is why they resorted to such an unwise move and came to the Earth Imperial Universe. I have defeated supreme warriors in the divinity before. This time, it is not difficult for me to defeat Luo Yi. I think I still have a chance to kill him. Defeated supreme warriors in the divinity. They looked at each other, speechless. Lu Li would not lie. If so, then wouldn't Lu Li be among the top 100 in the divinity? Okay, don't overthink. Chapter 1581. Within 10 days, the law enforcement elder had sent all the clansmen into the mystic realm. The Earth Imperial Universe was connected to many secret areas. Patriarch of Law Enforcement sent someone to control some of the more obscure ones. Kumang built a teleportation formation so that people could teleport directly from the Great Land City. Not many people from the Heaven Reverse Universe had migrated over. 10 days was enough for them to teleport away. The Earth Imperial Universe was able to deal with the aftermath. Patriarch of Law Enforcement arranged for some powerful warriors to go to those cities to heal the wounded and rescue the dying to stabilize the Earth Imperial Universe. At the same time, all the cities made announcements, stating that Lu Li had returned from the divinity and that he had killed all the invading armies. At the Earth Imperial Universe, people were in a state of panic. Now they had calmed down. For them, Lu Li was an immortal. There was nothing that a true god could not do. As long as Lu Li was around, nothing would be a problem. Lu Li left on the 9th day. He did not waste the 9 days. He had been trying to figure out how to solve the worms of the void. He didn't dare to ask the Patriarch of Law Enforcement or anyone else, because Emperor Huang had died when he came back. It meant that Emperor Huang had no way to save him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have died. Therefore, there was no need for him to ask. Asking would only make them worry all day. Lu Li didn't go directly to the entrance where Luo Yi was. Instead, he went out from the hidden entrance. He wasn't that stupid. If Luo Yi had made some arrangements over there, the Immortal World Supreme would probably be able to kill him in a second. He didn't take anyone with him. Everyone had gone to the secret realm. There was no one from the 4 families in the Earth Imperial Universe. His speed was very fast, and it only took him half a day to get out. He then entered stealth and slowly moved towards Luo Ye's direction. Although he was confident that he had a 70% chance of suppressing Luo Yi, there was always an exception to everything, right? Moreover, the Supremes of the immortal world had too many tricks up their sleeves. If they were not careful, they could be killed. After spending half a day, he arrived near the entrance. He took out 3 divine mountains and flew around him. He held the demon slaughtering blade in his hand and the thunder armor on his body. Fully armed, he slowly approached the other side. Lu Li was 150 miles away from Luo Yi when he used psychic power. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li was sensitive to space, he would not have sensed it. Luo Ye's divine will. Lu Li thought of something. His expressions didn't change. He pretended that he didn't sense the psychic power and kept moving forward. That powerful psychic power had been locked on to Lu Li. But it was like a gust of wind that could not be detected by the average person. Luo Yi opened his eyes as well. He smiled and said, Lu Li is here. Pretend that you don't see him. Do not use psychic power. Get ready to strike at any time. When he's within 30 kilometers of us, you guys attack immediately. I'll wait for an opportunity and try to kill him in one go. Alright. Patriarch Lu and the other patriarch put on a cruel smile. Many of their descendants were killed by Lu Li as well. He and Lu Li were irreconcilable enemies. It was said that Lu Li was resourceful and it was easy for him to kill super mighty warriors in the divinity. However, Luo Yi was here and they knew very well how powerful Luo Yi was. As long as Luo Yi launched a sneak attack, Lu Li would die for sure. 100 li. 80 li. 50 li. Luo Yi reported the distance to Lu Li in a low voice. He noticed that Lu Li had not sensed anything and was sneaking over quietly. Luo Yi's smile grew wider. As a matter of fact, Luo Yi was confident that he could kill Lu Li when Lu Li was within 25 miles. He never thought that Lu Li could kill him. The Supreme Realm in the divinity was a watershed. Supreme Realm warriors in the divinity had to go through heaven's tribulation. Their bodies and souls would be transformed. Luo Yi knew the power of the wrath of thunder and he knew it could not kill him. For Supreme Realm warriors in the divinity, mighty warriors and super mighty warriors were all puny beings. There was a qualitative difference in their abilities. If Luo Yi wanted to kill Patriarch Lu and the other patriarch, it would be a piece of cake. Therefore, Luo Yi didn't care about Lu Li's abilities at all. As far as he was concerned, Lu Li was already a dead man. 15 miles. Lu Li moved closer and closer without making any noise. Luo Yi could tell that Lu Li didn't use psychic power and his expressions didn't change. It meant that Lu Li wanted to sneak up on him with the wrath of thunder when he got closer. Ha ha. When Lu Li was 15 miles away, Luo Yi noticed that Lu Li had taken out the wrath of thunder. Luo Yi put on a sarcastic smile and said, Lu Li has taken out the wrath of thunder. Be careful. Don't attack him for real. Just feint and distract him. I will end his life. Okay. The two patriarchs were more relieved. Luo Yi's sneak attack skills were amazing. The Hall of Darkness was a dark path as well. All the skills they passed down were sneak attack. Not even the average Supreme Realm warriors in the divinity could survive Luo Yi's sneak attack, let alone Lu Li. 6 miles, When Lu Li was 6 miles away, Luo Yi suddenly noticed that Lu Li had stopped and was still sitting on the spot. A hill that was flying around Lu Li flew up to the sky. At the same time, Lu Li took out some formation stones. It seemed that he was ready to build a formation. Formation, ha ha ha. Luo Yi was overjoyed. Lu Li was trying to kill them with a formation? How naive. How could Luo Yi let go of such a good opportunity? He signaled to the two patriarchs and said, Do it. Kill Lu Li. Whoosh, the two super mighty warriors made their moves. They dashed toward Lu Li from the left and the right respectively. They took out their weapons at the same time. In an instant, they reached Lu Li's sides and were ready to attack at the same time. Ah! Lu Li, who was in the middle of building the formation, sensed something. He suddenly looked up and looked to both sides. The wrath of thunder in his hands glowed. He was about to throw the wrath of thunder at the two patriarchs. At the same time, he stepped back quickly, trying to dodge their attacks. Lu Li stepped back clumsily and in a panic. Clearly, he was frightened. The two patriarchs released two Xian energy at the same time. Seeing Lu Li's reaction, the two patriarchs grinned cruelly. Because, on the other side, Luo Yi was approaching Lu Li in a blur. A black hook appeared in Luo Yi's hand. It was the famous Rakshasa hook, stained with the blood of many powerful warriors. As far as the two patriarchs were concerned, as long as Luo Yi was close, he would cut off Lu Li's neck mercilessly. Not even the supreme relic armor could stop him. Luo Yi had a strange skill that could shake the artifact's spirit and formation in the relic armor directly, rendering the relic armor temporarily ineffective. Lu Li, go to hell. Luo Yi approached Lu Li's back in a blur of light. He walked out from the shadows, like a messenger from hell. There was no fluctuation in space or sound of wind. He came to Lu Li's back soundlessly. Ha ha! Lu Li turned around suddenly. He looked at the hook that was growing larger in his sight. He grinned and said, Luo Yi, I have been waiting for you. Whoosh, a small mountain that was flying around Lu Li flew over. Since the distance was so close, Luo Yi could not react in time. The mountain smashed into Luo Yi. Bang! A strong force knocked Luo Yi away. He could not even hold on to the hook as it was smashed away. Luo Yi could not believe his eyes. Just now, he used the hook to hack at the mountain. He didn't expect this result. No! Before Luo Yi could come back to his senses, it was getting dark in the sky. A mountain with a height of more than 30 miles was pressing down at a horrifying speed. Luo Yi was stunned for the time for one breath, so it was too late to react. Chapter 1582. Patriarch Lu and the other patriarch were taken aback, especially when they sensed that Luo Yi was trapped under the mountain and could not move. The two patriarchs were astonished. Grand Master! Patriarch Lu yelled. He stopped where he was, forgetting to move or attack. He sensed that Luo Yi was trapped like a dead dog, unable to move or move. Patriarch Lu was dumbfounded. Supreme Warrior in the Divinity. Luo Yi ranked 83 on the list. How many warriors were there in the Divinity? To be ranked 83, Luo Yi was the most powerful warrior in the Divinity. They knew better than anyone else how powerful supreme warriors in the Divinity were. For mighty warriors and super mighty ones in the Divinity, they were invincible. Now Lu Li had suppressed Luo Yi so easily that Luo Yi could not move. How do you expect them to believe their own eyes and accept the facts in front of them? Okay now. Lu Li was relieved after he checked. Supreme warriors in the Divinity were too dangerous. Just now, Lu Li's mind was strained to the extreme. He had planned for a long time before he created such a good opportunity. He had taken the risk to be so close to Luo Yi. One wrong move and he could have fallen into a bottomless abyss. What Lu Li did was successful. Luo Yi and the two patriarchs made the mistake of underestimating their enemy, which created a good chance for Lu Li to suppress Luo Yi. It had been proven that the mountain could suppress supreme warriors in the Divinity. However, supreme warriors in the Divinity were too fast. If Lu Li could not suppress them once and for all, and Luo Yi could escape, it would be troublesome later on. Lu Li might not have another chance. Either Luo Yi could escape or Luo Yi could find a chance to kill him. Now that Luo Yi was suppressed, Lu Li didn't care about the other two super mighty warriors in the Divinity. For him, he could kill the two super mighty warriors in the Divinity. Whoosh, the two super mighty warriors reacted quickly. They dashed over like swords. They knew they must kill Lu Li or save Luo Yi at once. Otherwise, the situation would be completely under Lu Li's control. Lu Li sneered. He waved his arm, and an invisible force in heaven and earth pressed down. The other patriarch could not move. Patriarch Lu could move, but he was as slow as a snail. Die! Patriarch Lu's eyes were filled with terror. He waved the saber in his hand and hacked at it. The saber turned into a shadow and turned into a huge beast. It let out a shocking roar and rushed toward Lu Li. Not bad. Lu Li nodded. But he did not step back. He didn't even use the mountain to defend himself. He swung the demon slayer. When the saber was unleashed, the world was shocked. A saber light whistled out, immediately drawing in the power of space in all directions. That was why this saber light was so powerful that even the wind and clouds seemed to change color. A terrifying pressure came crashing down on Elder Lu, causing him to feel a fatal sense of danger in his soul. Hiss! The saber light suddenly stopped and changed direction. The originally earth-shattering saber suddenly changed direction. This made people feel very uncomfortable, and they had the urge to vomit blood. Elder Lu's eyes lit up. Didn't that mean that the danger had been averted? The saber radiance was no longer aimed at him, so how could anything happen to him? Something's wrong. Patriarch Lu came to his senses at the next second. Even though the saber light had changed direction, the sense of danger in his soul was even stronger. Soon, he squinted because the saber light had changed direction and was coming at him again. This time, it was several times more powerful. The force in heaven and earth was several times more powerful. Patriarch Lu felt that this was a powerful attack from a supreme warrior in the divinity. How is this possible? The other elders' eyes were filled with disbelief. How could a single person's attack suddenly turn around halfway? Or did it change direction twice? What was more puzzling was that every time it changed direction, the power would be several times stronger. It seemed that the change took a long time, but in fact it was completed in an instant. Boom! The beast that Patriarch Lu's relic weapon had transformed into was cut into pieces. It was as if a sharp relic weapon had landed on a tiger made of paper. Then the saber light moved on and landed on Patriarch Lu. Patriarch Lu's body turned into a piece of paper as well. He was cut in half neatly. Ghost King cut. This is the move that made the Ghost King of the land of Yuyan famous. From the foot of the mountain came a cry of surprise. Luo Yi shouted, "Brother Chang, go to the Earth Imperial Universe right now. Even if you die, you must bury Lu Li and his family." Buzzing. A surge of energy spread out from the foot of the mountain. Then, Lu Li's spatial force was broken. A glint of determination rose in the other patriarch's eyes. He dashed toward the entrance of the Earth Imperial Universe like a bolt of lightning. Patriarch Lu was much more powerful than him. Now that Patriarch Lu was killed by Lu Li in one move, Patriarch Lu was doomed. Why not drag Lu Li's family and everyone in the Earth Imperial Universe down with him? Patriarch Lu knew about Ghost King. He did not know much about the Ghost King cut, but Ghost King was famous. He was one of the 9 immortals of the land of Yuyan. Since this was the move that made Ghost King cut famous, then there was no doubt about Lu Li's abilities. It was a piece of cake for Lu Li to kill super mighty warriors in the divinity. Just now, Patriarch Lu was immobilized by the force in heaven and earth. Courting death. Seeing the Patriarch dashing toward the entrance of the Earth Imperial Universe, Lu Li was enraged. If the Patriarch dashed in, the Earth Imperial Universe might collapse. By then, the billions of people in the universe would be minced. Lu Li would be guilty. Creak! Lu Li yelled. A mountain dashed out like a bolt of lightning. Lu Li was much faster than the Patriarch. The divine mountain expanded in the air until it was 1,000 feet wide. It quickly flew to the side of the Elder, then slid in an arc and suddenly collided with Elder Chang. Bang! Not even Luo Yi could stand the impact of the mountain, let alone the Patriarch. He was smashed away. Lu Li chased after the Patriarch. When he was close enough, he hacked at the Patriarch with the Demon Slayer. The moment the saber slashed down, the Elder's fate was sealed. The moment the saber slashed down, the heaven and earth power began to suppress him. The Elder could not move at all and could only watch as the saber light whistled towards him. In the end, the Patriarch let out a scream. However, because of the suppression, his voice turned into a beast-like growl. Like Patriarch Lu, he was cut in half. At the same time, on the other side, the God Mountain suddenly emitted a dazzling light. The God Mountain was actually pushed up. Then, Luo Yi transformed into a stream of light and floated away into the distance. What? Lu Li was taken aback. He looked over in astonishment. How could Luo Yi run away from the mountain? How could he be so powerful that he could lift up the mountain? Lu Li, wait and see. Chapter 1583. Master, I'm sorry. Just now, that person suddenly burst forth with a powerful force and pushed up the mountain. I was careless for a moment and let him escape. Yao flew the mountain over and said. Lu Li did not blame Yao. The supremes of the god realm are very powerful and have thousands of tricks up their sleeve. Didn't Yu Qingtian escape back then? Just now, Luo Yi asked Patriarch Chang to rush into the Earth Imperial Universe to distract Lu Li. Luo Yi must have paid a heavy price. Otherwise, he wouldn't have run away as soon as he got out. He would have found a chance to kill Lu Li. He ran away because he was injured and couldn't kill Lu Li. He was afraid that Lu Li would kill him, so he ran away. Lu Li sighed. He couldn't kill Luo Yi this time. Maybe it would be more difficult to kill him in the future. What was more, there would be endless troubles. Like what Luo Yi said before he left, the next time he came, he would bring many immortals with him. Could Lu Li protect the Earth Imperial Universe by himself? Moreover, the next time Luo Yi came, it was very likely that he would bring Elder Quang, Elder Leopard, and the others with him. At that time, would he be able to suppress several divine world supreme masters? It was obviously impossible. Guards! Lu Li shouted. Several scouts came from the distance. They were from the Earth Imperial Universe. Lu Li had already ordered them to hide nearby and wait for his summons. Emperor! The scouts bowed. Lu Li waved his hand and said, Mobilize a large number of scouts to monitor the Prison of Gold, Prison of Ice, and Prison of Wind. Report to me at once if there are any strange warriors or unusual situations. If the scouts were not strong enough, going to the Wind Prison was already their limit. If he let the scouts go to the Dark Prison, they would all die in a short time. He didn't have a good way to deal with it at the moment, so he could only send people to monitor them. Whoosh! He flew around the Prison of Gold and searched for Luo Yi. After making sure that Luo Yi had returned to the divinity, he returned to the Earth Imperial Universe. When he arrived at the Divine City, he did not send a message to Patriarch of Law Enforcement and Lu Renhuang. He did not go to see by Qiuxue either. Instead, he stood alone in the castle in the Divine City, lost in his thoughts. The Void Worm continued to split, and he didn't have any good ideas at the moment. Although he had repelled Luo Yi this time, it had brought about an even greater hidden danger. His brows were furrowed tightly, and his expression became somewhat unsightly. He felt as if a mountain was pressing down on him, and he found it difficult to breathe. Whoosh! He pondered for half a day and then walked into a castle. Inside the castle was an altar and a statue of Emperor of Heaven Reverse. There were many things he did not know what to do. He wanted to discuss with Emperor of Heaven Reverse. Emperor of Heaven Reverse might not be as powerful as Lu Li. That being said, Emperor of Heaven Reverse had lived for hundreds of thousands of years and had experienced many things. He possessed wisdom in life. It was always a good idea to ask for his opinion. Soon, the statue lit up. A surge of energy spread out. Emperor of Heaven Reverse said, Lu Li, have you returned to the Earth Imperial Universe? So fast? What's the situation now? Lu Li bowed and said, Yes, Your Majesty. I have been back for several days. Not long ago, I defeated Luo Yi and killed 2 of his men. That's great. Emperor of Heaven Reverse was overjoyed. His eyes glowed as he exclaimed, Lu Li, you are amazing. You have returned to the 9 universes and defeated a supreme warrior in the divinity. How old are you? Your future is limitless. Maybe you can overturn the 4 legendary forces and become the master of the divinity. Master of the divinity? Lu Li was even more frustrated. He shook his head and said, "Your Majesty, I am not here to tell you about my victory. I am here to ask for your help." "Really?" Emperor of Heaven Reverse could tell that Lu Li's tone was not right. "What is it? What happened?" After a moment of silence, Lu Li replied with a sigh, "Your Majesty, I was poisoned by worms of the void in the turbulence of time and space." "What?" Emperor of Heaven Reverse was taken aback. "You were really poisoned by worms of the void? How could you be so careless? Worms of the void are one of the most vicious. Many powerful warriors in the divinity have died to them. It is pointless to talk about this now." Lu Li waved his hand. "Your Majesty, do you know if there is a cure for the worms of the void? Is there a way to kill them?" "No." Emperor of Heaven Reverse's answer made Lu Li grimmer. "Over the course of history, many have been poisoned by worms of the void. But those that are known have all died. So far, nobody has announced that they can cure the worms of the void. Maybe someone has, but no one knows about it. Maybe the 4 legendary forces have the ability to do so as well. But what is known is that nobody can do it. Maybe," Emperor of Heaven Reverse continued after a pause, "if you can go back to the divinity, maybe you can go to Green Valley Hermit. It is said that he is the most knowledgeable about poisons in the divinity. His realm is not high, only at the level of a mighty warrior in the divinity. But his poisons can kill supreme warriors in the divinity. Also, he once killed a supreme warrior in the divinity, which shocked the divinity. But nobody knows his relationship with the 4 legendary forces. If you go to him and he is close to the craftsman's sect, he might poison you to death directly." Green Valley Hermit? What a strange name. Lu Li's eyes flickered. He could not make up his mind. What Emperor of Heaven Reverse said was true. If Green Valley Hermit was close to the craftsman's sect, then Lu Li could be poisoned to death. Or Green Valley Hermit could inform the craftsman's sect secretly and have them send some powerful warriors over to kill Lu Li. Lu Li thought for a while and brought up the second matter. "Emperor, let's not talk about Green Valley Hermit for now. Luo Yi has run away. Before he left, he said that he would come down with more warriors, possibly from the craftsman's sect. He wants to wipe out the 9 universes and all the nearby universes. If that is the case, I cannot stop so many warriors on my own. If some supreme warriors from the divinity come down, I will not be able to do anything." Well, Emperor of Heaven Reverse said nothing. If the craftsman's sect was so shameless, then they might send some supreme warriors from the divinity with a large number of warriors. By then, all the universes would be in danger. For immortals, destroying several mortal universes was not a big deal. Mortal beings could reproduce quickly. In tens of thousands of years there would be another 10 billion human beings. Therefore, for immortals, destroying worlds was not a big deal. It was just like slaughtering a group of beasts. You must go back to the divinity. A moment later, Emperor of Heaven Reverse said, "You must go back to the divinity as soon as possible. Before you come up from the prison of thunder, build a strong inhibition formation there to block off the passage to the divinity. As long as the divinity cannot ascend to the divinity, the bridge between the divinity and the divinity will be cut off. They will not be able to teleport to the divinity." "Really?" Lu Li was surprised. That was easy. He could build a formation to seal off the entrance to the towering mountain in the prison of thunder. That being said, if the seal was not lifted, the warriors of the 9 universes would never be able to ascend to the divinity. Okay. Lu Li thought for a while and made up his mind. "I will go to the divinity as soon as possible and seal off the passage to the divinity for now. When I have the ability and have a firm foothold in the divinity, I can lift the seal." Lu Li said coldly. "Craftsman's sect must have instructed Luo Yi to come down to the divinity. When I go to the divinity, I will make Craftsman's sect pay. I will make it public so that craftsman's sect will be condemned by all. Chapter 1584. After the discussion with Emperor of Heaven Reverse, Lu Li set off for the secret realm. Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Renhuang, by Qiushue Jiang Qiling, and by Xiaoshuang were hiding in a secluded secret realm. Only the Lu family knew about this secret realm. The Lu family regarded this place as their ancestral land. Now that he had found the entrance to the secret realm, Lu Li was not worried that his entry would cause the secret realm to collapse. The secret realm and the Earth Imperial Universe were connected. If he could enter the Earth Imperial Universe, he could enter the secret realm as well. The entrance was sealed by Kumang with inhibition formations. For Lu Li, Kumang's inhibition formations were child's play. Lu Li could crack the inhibition formations easily, not to mention Blood Fairy. Buzz, instead of cracking the formation, Lu Li had Blood Fairy go into the seal. Not only did she crack the formation, but she also strengthened the seal. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Blood Fairy retracted her tentacles. The seal glowed. Lu Li stepped into the seal and went in. After a flash of white light, Lu Li found himself in a valley. The valley was foggy and there seemed to be 7 or 8 exits. Hee. Lu Li smiled. Clearly, there was a formation of illusion at the entrance. He didn't bother to break it. Looking at Kumang, who was sitting outside, Lu Li said, "Kumang, deactivate the formation of illusion. If I fly out by force, I will destroy your formation." Buzz, the white mist quickly disappeared, and Kumang flew over. He knelt on one knee and said, "Greetings, great Emperor. Kumang, you've improved a lot in the past few years. There's a hint of a divine restriction now." Lu Li nodded with appreciation. Then, his ring lit up, and he took out dozens of restriction books and handed them to Kumang. "Kumang, these are the restriction books of the divine world. Read them carefully, they will be of great help to you." Lu Li didn't give Kumang any books on inhibition formations that were too advanced for him. Kumang's realm and soul were too low for him to understand the profound inhibition formations. Therefore, this was the best Lu Li could do for him. "Thank you, great Emperor." Kumang was overjoyed. He loved formations and restrictions the most. Lu Li nodded. He asked a few questions and then flew up. He could see everything clearly with psychic power. The secret realm was not large. There were 3 cities in the secret realm that were not far away. Lu Renhuang and the others were in the big city in the middle. Soon, Lu Li's psychic power stopped on the 3 girls. They were all in the backyard of a manor. A very seductive woman in a red robe was drinking tea with a calm expression on her face. A woman in a white dress was sitting cross-legged on the side, quietly cultivating. The other woman in a green dress was pacing back and forth with an anxious expression on her face. Her beautiful eyebrows were furrowed into the shape of a chuan. The 3 women were all top-notch beauties. Time had not left a single trace on their faces, and they were still as beautiful as young girls. In particular, the woman in the white dress and the woman in the green dress were twins. They looked exactly the same, but their temperaments were completely different. When they stood together, they would dazzle anyone who saw them. Qiling, Qiushue, Xiaoshuang. Tears welled up in Lu Li's eyes. His psychic power was trembling. Bai Qiushue was sensitive. She opened her eyes at once. Jiang Qiling's hand that was holding the teacup trembled. Even Bai Xiaoshuang felt something was wrong. She raised her head and looked into the sky in confusion. Whoosh! Lu Li sped up to the top of his speed. In an instant, he landed in the yard as if he had appeared out of thin air. Bai Xiaoshuang saw Lu Li. She thought she was hallucinating. She rubbed her eyes and then walked over timidly. She reached out to Lu Li's arm, wondering if she was hallucinating. Jiang Qiling's teacup was tilted and the tea was dripping down. She smiled. She did not shed tears, but her eyes reddened out of instinct. Bai Qiushue's smile was radiant. She stood up and said gently, "Darling, welcome home." Lu Li's eyes were watery. He forced himself to hold back his tears. He hugged Bai Xiaoshuang and waved to Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushue. Whoosh! When Lu Li waved, Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushue could not be reserved anymore. They rushed over and hugged Lu Li tightly. Bai Xiaoshuang had begun to cry. It had been so many years and yet, Bai Xiaoshuang's character had not changed much. She was still an innocent and romantic girl who cried and threw tantrums. The four of them hugged each other without saying anything. Bai Qiushue and Jiang Qiling could suppress their emotions. Bai Xiaoshuang, on the other hand, was in a daze. Her tears drenched Lu Li's clothes. Lu Renhuang and Lu Xingyang sensed that Lu Li was back. But they did not go over to ask or disturb him. The fact that Lu Li could come back meant that he had defeated Luo Yi, if not killed him. They had not seen each other for a long time, and Bai Xiaoshuang was crying so hard. Lu Renhuang and Lu Xingyang did not have the heart to disturb their reunion. They had not seen each other for a long time. Bai Xiaoshuang was crying so hard that Lu Li did not have the heart to disturb their reunion. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, Lu Li had to stop them. It was not that he wanted to stop them, but he felt the worms of the void were about to move. Therefore, he must find a way to separate them so that Bai Qiushue and the others would not notice anything. Yes. Bai Xiaoshuang wiped her tears. Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Go back to your room and wait for me. I will go and visit Great-Grandpa and the others." The 3 girls blushed as soon as they heard Lu Li go back to his room. It had been years since the 3 plots of land were plowed. They wondered if they had been abandoned. The 3 girls had forgotten about the pleasure of love. Lu Li's sudden mention of this made the 3 of them feel embarrassed. Lu Li waved his hand and walked to the yard outside. The 3 girls did not feel anything. They went back to their rooms, blushing. At first, Lu Li was walking steadily. But as he walked, he began to tremble. He took 2 healing pellets quickly and moved forward steadily. He tried his best to suppress the trembling. Unfortunately, sweat was dripping down from his forehead. When Lu Li walked out of his yard and walked toward the yard, Lu Renhuang and Patriarch of Law Enforcement, Lu Xingyang, noticed something was wrong. "Great-Grandpa, Grandpa, Father, don't move." Lu Li noticed that the 3 of them were about to come out. He stopped them at once. If the 3 of them came out, Jiang Qiling and the others would be able to tell that something was wrong. Patriarch of Law Enforcement, stop. Lu Li walked over with sweat on his forehead. By the time he stepped into the hall, Lu Li was soaked in sweat. He slumped on a chair, closed his eyes, and pointed at the wall feebly. Lu Renhuang knew his son well. He activated the inhibition formation at once and asked with concern, "Lu Li, are you hurt?" Patriarch of Law Enforcement walked over. He was about to pour Xian energy into Lu Li's body when Lu Li broke free from Patriarch of Law Enforcement. He shook his head and said, "Don't move. I will tell you later." Lu Li seemed calm, but the 3 of them could see the pain he was suppressing. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li was afraid that they would be worried, he would have been rolling on the ground. Chapter 1585. Poison? For now? The 3 of them were taken aback. Even Lu Li believed it was poison. If it was not life-threatening for now, it would be horrifying. It meant that if the poison was not dealt with properly, Lu Li could lose his life. "Don't worry." Lu Li forced a smile. "I have talked to Emperor of Heaven Reverse. He said that there is a powerful warrior in the divinity that can cure this poison. I will go back to the divinity to find him. I have some reputation in the divinity. He will do me the favor. Lu Li made it sound easy. But no one knew a son better than a father. Lu Renhuang could tell from Lu Li's bitter smile that something was not right. Lu Renhuang did not say anything. He knew his son well. If there was something good, Lu Renhuang would be happy to share it with others. If it was something difficult, Lu Renhuang would shoulder it alone and endure it in silence. Patriarch of Law Enforcement knew Lu Li well. Lu Xingyang, on the other hand, was worried. Lu Li, are you sure? What do you need us to do? I am fine, Grandpa. Lu Li stood up with a smile. I just don't have any elixirs here. I will be cured when I go back to the divinity. The poison will not kill me. I just don't want Qiling and the others to see it when it takes effect. Keep it a secret for me. I will stay here for 5 days. After that, I will have to go back to the divinity. I have killed 2 of the 3 immortals and 1 escaped. I must go to the divinity to hunt him down, or else the Earth Imperial Universe will be in trouble. 1 escaped? That supreme warrior in the divinity? Lu Renhuang raised his eyebrows. Lu Li nodded. Lu Renhuang's eyes glowed. Then, Lu Li, you are among the top 100 in the divinity, right? Lu Li grinned. Sort of. At least, I can defeat some of the supreme warriors in the divinity. But the supreme warriors in the divinity are strong. It is difficult to kill them. Powerful! Lu Xingyang exclaimed. He did not know the situation in the divinity. But Emperor of Heaven Reverse was a genius. He had been in the divinity for hundreds of thousands of years and only reached the tens of thousands. It was the same for Yen Tiangang. Many other immortals in the 9 universes either died in the divinity or disappeared. It had been decades since Lu Li became one of the most powerful warriors in the divinity. Lu Li was proud of his grandson. Patriarch of Law Enforcement was not as optimistic as Lu Xingyang. There was always a hint of gloom on Lu Li's face, which suggested that Lu Li was not enjoying his life in the divinity. Given Lu Li's character, he would make enemies everywhere in the divinity. After a while, he asked, Lu Li, are you going to the divinity with Qiling and the twins? Lu Li was taken aback. He forced a smile and said, I cannot. I cannot take mortals to the divinity with my current abilities. Also, before I go to the divine world, I might seal the thunder prison to prevent people from the divine world from descending. In this case, the people of the 9 realms would not be able to ascend. After I kill that exalt of the god world, I will return to open the lightning prison's seal. At that time, I will also study how to bring all of you to the god world. Lu Li's words seemed to be flawless, but Patriarch of Law Enforcement sensed something special. Lu Li was going to seal off the prison of thunder, which must be troublesome. Lu Li should have the ability to bring them up. That being said, Lu Li's trip to the divinity would be dangerous. Therefore, he could not bring anyone. Patriarch of Law Enforcement said nothing. He only patted Lu Li's shoulder. Lu Li responded with a smile. Lu Li did have the ability to bring them to the divinity. He could stop the thunderbolts in the prison of thunder by himself. It would not be a problem for him to bring hundreds of people to the divinity. But why would he bring them to the divinity? To the Emperor of Heaven Reverse? Would the Swords Mountain be safe? He might as well let them stay in the Earth Imperial Universe in peace. At least, it would be safer. There were no more powerful warriors in the 9 universes. The Lu family could unify the 9 universes. Buzzing, Lu Li's finger glowed as he took out some supreme relics and armors. Handing them to Lu Renhuang, Lu Li said, These are the best armors and weapons. With these, not even the average immortals can hurt you. Later, if you want to unify the 9 universes, it will not be a problem. It is up to you. Okay. Lu Renhuang did not refuse. He took them all and planned to distribute them later. Lu Li took out dozens more books and handed them to Lu Renhuang. These are basic skills. You will have a chance to learn them. Lu Renhuang nodded. So many? Lu Renhuang and Patriarch of Law Enforcement Lu Jingyang were shocked. Back then, Yen Tiangang only sent some relics and 1 or 2 low-level skills. How could Lu Li give them dozens of books so easily? Lu Li smiled. If he wanted to, he could have tens of thousands of books. It was just that many mortals could not learn. How many people had he killed over the years? How many interspatial rings did he have? Many of the space rings contained divine incantations, and even more low-level divine weapons. Buzzing, Lu Li's ring glowed. Over 1,000 relic weapons appeared in the hall, all of which were low-level ones. Lu Li waved his hand. These are average relic weapons. I have no use for them. Give them to the warriors in your families. Hiss, hiss, the 3 of them were stunned. How well had Lu Li been doing? How come the relic weapons and skills were tossed on the ground like toilet paper? Okay. Lu Renhuang's eyes glowed. I think it is necessary for us to unify the 9 universes and take control of all the nearby universes. In this way, we will not be in such a passive situation next time. Yes. Lu Jingyang nodded. That is right. When we have all the universes under our control, we will have more places to hide. Nobody will know which universe we are in. Even if immortals come from the divinity, they will not be able to wipe us out. The relic weapons and skills given by Lu Li boosted Lu Jingyang and Lu Renhuang's confidence. What was more, almost all the warriors from the 8 universes were killed. Even if there were 1 or 2 survivors, Lu Renhuang was confident that he could kill them. Okay, Lu Li waved his hand. You go and make arrangements. I don't think there are any more powerful warriors in the 9 universes. Well, that is not right. Why don't I see Astro Emperor or Blood Emperor? Lu Li remembered that half of his master, the Blood Emperor, and that immortal Astro Emperor who could foresee the future and tell when Lu Li would ascend. According to the information, Luo Yi had almost all the warriors cultivating in seclusion under his control. Given Luo Ye's abilities, Astro Emperor and Blood Emperor could not have escaped his detection. Had the 2 ascended? I don't know. Lu Renhuang shook his head. I have been to the prison of ice, prison of wind, prison of darkness, prison of soul and prison of thunder, but I have never seen the 2. Either the 2 of them have already passed away, or they have ascended. Never mind. Lu Li waved his hand. Go and make the arrangements. We can leave the Earth Imperial Universe now. I will stay with them for a couple of days and then I will go to the divinity. Lu Li went to the bathroom in the hall. He took a shower, changed into a clean set of clothes and went back to the yard. Jiang Qiling and the twins waited in the room obediently. As soon as Lu Li came in, tears welled up in their eyes again. Lu Li pulled a long face and said, "Don't cry. Otherwise, I will stop loving her and she will be jealous." "Darling, you are so mean." Bai Xiaoshuang jumped to her feet. She tried to hit Lu Li, but he picked her up and threw her onto the bed. Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushue tried to run away, but Lu Li threw them onto the bed as well. Chapter 1586. Lu Li stayed in the mysterious realm for 5 days. Nothing happened in the prison of ice and wind. Lu Renhuang arranged for people to leave the mysterious realm, while Lu Li stayed with his 3 wives. Every time the worms of the void were about to attack, Lu Li would send a message to Lu Renhuang, who would send someone to fetch Lu Li. In this way, when worms of the void were eating Lu Li, his 3 wives would not notice. There were thousands of worms of the void in Lu Li's body. Basically, they would eat once every 1 or 2 days. In other words, the number of worms of the void would double every 1 or 2 days. 5 days later, Lu Li decided to leave. If he stayed, he would lose his life down there. He could not kill the worms of the void, not even contain them. In a month or 2, The number of worms of the void could reach hundreds of thousands. By then, no matter how good his elixirs were, he would not be able to survive. Lu Li explained to his 3 wives that he must go to the divinity to kill Luo Yi, or else there would be endless troubles. Luo Yi would come down with immortals and slaughter civilians of the 9 universes. Bai Xiaoshuang insisted on leaving the divinity with Lu Li. Lu Li had to say that he could not bring her along. Bai Qiushua stopped Bai Xiaoshuang. Looking at Lu Li tenderly, she said, "Darling, don't worry. Don't worry at home. There is nothing we can do for you in the divinity. We can only stay at home and wait for you to come back. We will always be with you, forever and ever." Lu Li's soul trembled. He sensed something from Bai Qiushua's words. He had been hiding it for the past few days. Unexpectedly, Bai Qiushua saw through him. Bai Qiushua was trying to say that if Lu Li died, she would come with him and die with him. Jiang Qiling took Lu Li's arm and said, "Darling, I believe in you. You have always been a man of miracles. For us, you will defeat some enemies. We will wait for you to come back." Bai Xiaoshuang was silly, but Jiang Qiling and Bai Qiushua were smart and meticulous. They had lived with Lu Li for so many years. How could they not know their man? "I will go now." Lu Li kissed them on their foreheads one by one and hugged them. Then, he flew up and looked at Lu Renhuang and the others. Lu Li said nothing and flew away in a blur. Jiang Qiling and the other 2 watched as Lu Li left. They didn't say goodbye or say anything, but their eyes reddened. They all knew that Lu Li had left so casually because he didn't want to make them sad. Goodbyes were always the saddest. They didn't say much because they didn't want Lu Li to feel sad. "Get ready. In 10 days we will attack the 8 realms. We will unify all the realms within 2 years. Lu Renhuang waved his hand. Behind him, Ming Yu and many other powerful warriors took action. They went down to prepare and mobilize their forces. This time, everyone was full of confidence because many of them had obtained divine artifacts. Over 100 people had been bestowed with divine artifacts. Needless to say, there were almost no experts in the 8 realms. Even if there were, they could sweep through them. This time, if everything went smoothly, the Lu family would be able to unify all the nearby universes. By then, the Lu family would have access to more resources. In a few decades, the Lu family would become a super overlord. If everything went well, the Lu family would be able to unify all the nearby universes. By then, the Lu family would have access to resources from many universes. In decades, the Lu family would become a super overlord. Lu Li went to the purgatory of primordial chaos to search level by level in case Luo Yi was lurking. He was fast. In less than half a day, he could search 1 level. Soon, he arrived at the prison of thunder. He was relieved to make sure that Luo Yi was not there. But he built many inhibition formations in the prison of thunder and sealed off the entrances to the prison of soul in case warriors from the lower universe could come to the prison of thunder. In this way, once the inhibition formations in the prison of thunder were triggered, immortals might come. With all this done, Lu Li flew on. The thunderbolts did not do anything to him. He did not even need to take out the thunder armor. He could withstand them with his body. At the towering mountain, Lu Li spent a long time building several inhibition formations, all of which were powerful. He wanted to seal off the entrance completely so that those from the lower universe could not ascend. In that case, those from the divinity would not be able to come down. It took Lu Li more than a day to build 7 layers of inhibition formations. Making sure that everything was in order, Lu Li poured out a ray of Xian energy to activate the inhibition formations and set foot on the last step of the towering mountain. Buzzing, after a glare, Lu Li found himself on an ascension platform. Several prefecture warriors were guarding here. Many immortals were sitting next to them. What? Many immortals thought that Lu Li was someone who had just ascended. However, they could tell that Lu Li's energy was as vast as the ocean. They could not understand. Lord! Those prefecture warriors were frightened. Lu Li's energy was as horrifying as their prefecture masters. They would not dare to show any disrespect. Which prefecture is this? Lu Li asked after he checked the surroundings with psychic power to make sure that no powerful warriors were hiding. A prefecture warrior answered at once, Lord, this is the South Sun Prefecture. Lu Li nodded. He had heard of this prefecture. It was located at the Southern Divinity. After a while, Lu Li threw out a pile of divine sources and said, I have a task for you. Tell them that Craftsman's sect instructed Luo Yi to come down and slaughter the mortal world. I am furious about this. I have decided to get back at Craftsman's sect at all costs. Tell all branches of Craftsman's sect to leave Craftsman's sect at once or they will suffer my merciless revenge. So many divine sources. Those prefecture warriors were stunned. There were tens of thousands of divine sources in front of them. For them, that was a fortune. Whoosh, Lu Li had flown away. The prefecture warriors did not have the time to react. One of them recalled what Lu Li said. All of a sudden, he trembled and shouted, He is Lu Li, the god of slaughter? He is going to purge Craftsman's sect? The other prefecture warriors came back to their senses. They were pale in fright. They could no longer think about the pile of divine sources in front of them. Who would dare to take divine sources from Lu Li? They would be doomed if they were identified as Lu Li's killing god? This name is so domineering, and this person is so handsome. He's the type that I Yao Yu like. It would be great if he could become my man. Next to him was a beautiful girl who had just ascended. She murmured as she gazed at the direction Lu Li flew to. A prefecture warrior was frightened again. He scolded, Shut up. Do you know who Lord Lu Li is? That's a supreme expert who stands at the pinnacle of the immortal world, and you still want to seduce him? If you dare to offend my lord again, I'll kill you immediately. The woman didn't dare to speak anymore, but she was obviously not convinced. She pouted slightly and said in a voice that only she could hear, So what if he's a supreme being expert? Men conquer women by conquering the world, and we women conquer the world by conquering men. Just you wait, Lu Li, I will definitely conquer you. P.S. Last week, I said that in the future there will be 3 chapters on weekends. This book will be guaranteed to have 3 chapters a day until the end of the book. Take good care of your body and rest. He still owed 20 to 30 chapters, but he would slowly make up for it. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.